Hello, everyone, and welcome to Vibrant League. My name is Retro, and I'm joined here by Silver for what I believe is, if not the first, one of the first casts of Vibrant League so far. And, well, I'm excited for one. What about you, Silver?
I'm super hyped. I mean, I've been casting these teams up and down through so many months and years, actually, overall. It's crazy to see where they're standing right now. I'm really interested to see what is going on today. We've had some matchups, especially throughout the past, but there's always some spiciness to it whenever they actually play against each other.
Yeah, I mean, we have Team Alpha versus Calories, so that should definitely be a really, really good matchup. They've both had a pretty long running throughout the scene of R6 esports so far, so it should definitely be quite interesting. I do believe that the first map going on, is it best of one this?
It
Or is it
should
best
be
of,
best of ones only,
yeah.
yes.
Okay, so the first and only map between these two teams should be Oregon, if I'm not mistaken, which of course has been a staple of R6 esports for a very, very long time. I feel like it's one of those maps that no matter how it really goes down, it should be a pretty interesting matchup just from the fact that, it's such a default map to the point where, like, even if you don't have too extravagant of a strategy really laid out for yourself, you'll probably be fine just running the defaults, which not many maps can really say that about themselves. So it should be an interesting map, just, based on that. Although I personally am a little bit disappointed with the fact that it is Oregon. I think that it can get and has gotten a little bit stale. But any map is good in my opinion, and between these two teams, it definitely should be an interesting one.
Absolutely. I mean, looking at the stats, Team Alpha, a pretty comfortable team here on Oregon, as you said itself. They've played it 6 times in the last year actually, and 67% win rate. Actually quite a good rate, to be honest. Typically, it is one of their bans, right? It's their fourth highest ban. When it comes to maps overall, even though they can still play it. On the flip side, if you look at calories, it's typically one of the maps they ban the most. As look at the direct numbers, it is their second highest banned map with no plays actually in the most recent past. So it's definitely going to be quite interesting because if you look deeper into the analysis of the data, you see Alpha quite comfortable on it. They tend to play it. Actually, a lot of teams ban it against them. And then if you look at calories, they tend to ban it themselves. Not really. I mean, it's not that they are not familiar with it. It's still Oregon. It's still one of the most classical maps, but at least it looks like they have some irritation, some problems, or at least not that they're not that comfortable when it comes to playing on it. But overall, it's still Oregon. You can pull off default stuff at all times. I love the map, even though a lot of people say it is quite a Boregan default map, and
Yeah.
but on the flip side, you have to say Oregon is one of the maps where it really comes down to basics. It really comes down to how you actually can perform, how well you can communicate, how well you can utilize, the strength of a map like verticality.
Mhm.
And therefore, if you know exactly how to play, you should not have a single problem.
I actually really like that you brought that up because that's very, very true. I feel like a lot of maps do tend to rely on you catching the enemy by surprise by playing something that they might not have ever seen before, playing something different, playing a little bit outside of your comfort zone and outside of the comfort zone really of the entire, sphere of the esport. Map that comes to mind that definitely does tend to play out that way. It can be Skyscraper or Bank sometimes where a lot of the times you will end up winning if you do the unexpected thing, if you take the risk and it does end up paying off. Whereas Oregon really doesn't have that much, how do I say, malleability. It doesn't really work that way. As you said, it really comes down to basics. So if you have those basics down, sort of just in general, it definitely should help you. Although we have gotten information that the teams are having issues banning maps, so it might actually not end up being Oregon, it might end up being something else. At which point, I mean, I really don't know what to expect from either of these teams. Of course, you probably have a little bit more information in terms of statistics on what we could be expecting, but I still really don't know. It could end up going any way, really.
Honestly, if I look at it, it won't be Clubhouse, it won't be Cafe, it will be Villa, as these are the top three bans from Team Alpha. Look on the sort of calories they ban, Chalet the most, and then followed by what is it, Theme Park as well as Club. So I'm not going to expect a lot of that. Clubhouse, I think, would be a common ground for these teams. Does make a lot of sense. And then looking at it, there's still some, potential to see other maps, something like Border, for example, which in my opinion would heavily favor Team Alpha as they've played it 5 times and won it 5 times. And also, if I look back at, they've already played against each other. It was Team Alpha against Calories on the Rainbow Six Central Combine. Actually, casted the match myself. It was 7-1 in favor of Calories. So I can definitely tell that Chalet is not a map Team Alpha should be looking at playing. Or if they've made their homework, if they've made their thinking processes, they could be looking back at it again, though it is quite a risk.
Yeah, it definitely could be quite a risk, and I would honestly love to see them go on the Chalet just to sort of like a rematch, situation. It's like, oh, we have done our homework, we know what to do, and we can do it. But as it turns out, I don't know if this is now confirmed or not. I'm sort of just looking at it. It might be Bank. I don't know, but I guess we're gonna get back to maps in a little bit once we are definitely confirmed on what it will be. The things that I'm excited to see are the many operators that we're definitely going to get to see, regardless of which map it ends up being. But I'm not sure, is RAM allowed right away? Because obviously the new season started yesterday, although we can't really speak about how much it started, but the new season started yesterday, and with it came the new operator of RAM, who on any map that is in any way vertical, so Chalet, Bank, in lots of ways, Oregon and Clubhouse as well, will be a completely different map to what we've seen so far, and that is something that I'm really, really excited for, if RAM is allowed, but I'm not sure if she is at this time. I don't know if it's too early, if maybe it'll be next week.
Typically, what you say, though, in the past, we had for quite some time on most leagues, we had the quarantine phase, but we actually should not have it. I mean, here it might be different in Vibrant League, so we definitely have to get assurance on that. But on the flip side, if RAM is playable, it's certainly going to be at least my first competitive taste on, what to expect and what not to expect, and certainly to see as well, how much destruction, how much chaos a single operator can introduce into a map, into a game, which typically you only really expect from someone like King, for example, an operator with so much utility stacked, or Fuse maybe to say, but it's going to be very interesting to say the least.
Yeah, I mean, I'm very, very excited. Not even just for RAM, who of course will completely shift the meta. I mean, this is something that has been said about pretty much every single operator that has come out in the past couple of years. It was like, oh, that's going to be meta changing. That's going to be meta changing. And some of them were in, like Azami and Flores, maybe they weren't right off the bat, but they slowly started to really change the way that a lot of maps are both defended and attacked, and they tend to be that sort of like tandem pick and ban, whereas like, oh, if somebody bans Flores, best believe that Azami will end up banned just because she's so strong without Flores on the board. And similarly, if you see that the enemy team is bringing Azami, you're gonna have to bring the Flores just because of how strong she is. But RAM, I really do believe that she's one of those operators that genuinely will change the meta, just because of how much more focus is going to be put onto that vertical play. There's already so much focus on it, and more focus has been putting onto it in recent times. Whereas like a couple of years ago, you might have not really seen Buck getting used that much from below. Of course, you would see him from above, but he's in the past a year or so, he's really been getting a lot of attention to do a lot of vertical destruction from below. For example, on Oregon, on the Clubhouse especially, he will do that sort of thing. Like, he'll go below, especially on Oregon, if we're talking about dorms, he will go below into kitchen, and he will try to destroy as much of the floor as possible to make the defenders uncomfortable. And I really can see similar things happening even more now with RAM, and I'm really excited for just not even this matchup, whether we may or may not see RAM get played. She might get banned right off the bat. But I'm just excited to see what's to come of Siege in general with RAM now on the board. I really think that there's going to be a lot of interesting things to see with her, and even with the new maps. I think that both Consulate and Nighthaven Labs have a lot of opportunity for RAM to get utilized, especially Nighthaven Labs. So that's gonna be definitely very, very interesting. Although I don't know if Vibrant League has employed the new map pool yet. I feel like it has gone introduced in time for Vibrant League to employ, but I'm not 100% sure on whether or not we do have it.
I mean, looking at the bands, we're actually in the middle of the band fest right now. If you might be able to tell from the bottom of your screens, just underneath us, you actually can see a consulate band there, meaning that actually it seems to be the case that we do have the newest map changes here in play. Talking about it, skyscraper, bank, clubhouse, consulate, chalet, night haven labs off the board, only leaving us with a small variety of maps. Honestly, from here, it can go either way. I'm actually intrigued thus far that we're not going to see Clubhouse. I actually thought that would be the most common ground for both of the teams. Chalet out certainly does make sense, like I've touched on in the past. They've already played this. It already went in favor of Calories, and quite a one-sided result after all. Meaning, I have high expectations, high hopes to say so for the last couple of maps. Specifically looking at it, what would be your most preferred map from the three left?
Oh, I really, it's really hard to tell. I don't know. Oh, I don't know. I can't choose.
You might have spoiled it maybe with Oregon, right?
It might be, but it's really such a tough tell though, because as you said yourself, it really could go either way, and I can definitely see it going either way. So I guess just for the sake of continuity, I will say Oregon, although it really could go either way. It really could go.
And there it
Oh, we get
goes.
banned.
Team Alpha already
Wow.
just took it off just now. Well, this is certainly going to be very interesting.
Yep, I lied.
As you said, for continuity reasons, teams are not allowing us to be continuous with that.
Nope.
It does make sense, though. It does make sense if you do not want to play the map. I mean, Oregon specifically, I see a lot of teams, even though I don't fully understand it. For me, Oregon, Clubhouse, maybe as well as Chalet are the must maps where you definitely should have at least somewhat of an understanding and shouldn't give away too many rounds or maps. Well, on the flip side, we have the result with Border being the last band from Calories. Actually, it will be Cafe to be our map of the match. And Cafe, certainly talking about verticality, I think is one of the best examples for Rem to be introduced.
Yeah, I couldn't agree with you more. And it's really going to be quite interesting to see her get played, especially for that kitchen bomb site down below. I think it's definitely going to be very, very interesting. But also, reading and dining. I feel like that's also a very, very common bomb site, if not one of the most common bomb sites now. That the kitchen bomb site has been losing a lot of favor. So it's definitely going to be interesting seeing how that gets played out, considering how vertical already the entire map is, but specifically that bomb site. So I am excited to see that really go. To Cafe, to see Ram potentially get played out, although she might get banned. I'm as much as excited as I am to see her get played. I don't anticipate actually seeing her on the board. I think that it is very, sort of an obvious thing to expect that she's just going to get banned and that she's going to continue to get banned for at least a little while, just because of, how strong she is and because she's new, so people really aren't too comfortable with her yet. They don't really know what to expect. So I think just based on that, we're probably better off just not expecting to see her at all. But they might surprise me. They might just bring her out. They might leave her to survive the ban phase, and then we actually get to experience her, which of course would be the best case scenario. And I would love to see it.
Absolutely. I mean, specifically looking back at Cafe, now that we know for sure it will be Cafe, I can say that Cafe is actually an interesting map to be played because Team Alpha actually has the third highest ban rate for themselves on Cafe. Typically, they're not really that comfortable, or at least not willing to play it. They have played it 2 times thus far throughout the year. Actually, also won it 2 times. One was against Bonnie's Trusted Dinosaurs, and one was against Zero Tenacity. On the flip side, if we look back at Calories is, and this is actually going to be very interesting, they have not played it throughout this year in an official tournament, which intrigues me so much because it can mean that they're saving a bit, to now show us at the very beginning. On the flip side, Cafe is always a default map, right? It's not like you can pull off crazy strats. It's not like back in the day when you pulled off an SSG strat on other maps that you would be able to pull off the same thing. The meta has shifted quite significantly into a favor of the attackers, not only focusing that much on time waste anymore, but more actually of fragility, especially on Cafe. That's where also a lot of teams don't actually want to start an attack on Cafe, for example, because it can be quite tough. Now, we've touched on this a couple of times with Ram on the board. Things might change, might also not. It will depend on what the bans will leave us. But I really think that Cafe, with that waterfall kind of way of approaching the map, a lot of map control typically in favor of the defenders, which already enables some gunfights throughout the first minutes of the round. It leaves me questioning if this will be a very aggressive map, because talking of the past of Team Alpha, talking of the past of Calories, they can be super aggressive whenever they want. And specifically looking at Cafe, this could be, like I said, a banger to start it off.
That I really, really love that you brought that up, because a Cafe, I feel like it tends to turn a lot of people off. I personally love it. As a caster, I definitely see the point of view from a lot of people disliking it and thinking that it gets boring, and especially because it takes like a minute for anything to really start happening, for us the 30 seconds to even get to the roof, and you really can't attack from anywhere else. As you said, the waterfall approach and everything. So I definitely understand a lot of people disliking it and thinking that it gets a little bit boring and a little bit stale sometimes. But when you have, as you said, teams that can get aggressive when they need to, when on certain days they really can get aggressive, I think that should they get aggressive here today on Cafe, I think that really could aid in this being an even better matchup. Of course, we already spoke about these two teams specifically being so well matched, and this is essentially a rematch from their previous game. So off the back of that, we already know that it's probably going to be an interesting match. But to know that they are also prone to being quite aggressive on a map that favors aggression, it really, really could end up being quite interesting, just as you said. So I am now even more excited than I already was, which I didn't think was quite possible. Honestly, I've had a little bit of a break from casting, and this is the first time that I'm getting back into it in about a couple of weeks now. So to get back into a match that I am sure will be very, very interesting, I couldn't ask for anything better, to be completely honest with you.
Well, I could not agree more than that. I mean, specifically, if I think back of the time casting Central Combine, I really think that one word to describe this match could be Goblin Plays, because looking at it, Team Alpha almost won against Wolves on that first map in the best of 3 on phase 4 with Goblin Plays and Goblin Plays only, right? They know exactly how to utilize that. On the flip side, I don't think there's a team more known in the UK scene than Calories for, unconventional gameplay, for the Goblin Plays as well, as I've touched on in the past. It really, I cannot describe which way this could go. Everything is possible, as always. And if you're wondering, why are they talking so much? Well, we're about to get started. Obviously, we do have 180 seconds delay to our observer. So we are about to get started anytime soon, I hope.
Hopefully,
And other than that, once it might be the last time for today, grab a snack, grab a drink, get comfortable, because things are going to heat up relatively soon, as we not only have one barn burner of match, we have 3 of them for the rest of the evening. So certainly a lot to watch.
Yeah, it definitely will be quite an interesting night tonight, and I'm excited to go through it all. Through all of the matchups. We really should be ready here just in a couple of moments here between Alpha and Calories, and then we could get started right away. But I mean, I think we've covered all bases. I guess the only thing we're really left to go off is predictions. Who do you think could take this one? Obviously, I feel like me predicting anything here would just be going off of nothing, because I have very, very little information about both of these teams. So I'll let you take the lead in who you think might be a little bit more dominant here tonight.
Ooh, this is certainly a tough one, not gonna lie. I mean, honestly, I'm a bit a fan of Team Alpha. Talking about the past, when I cast the GSA League in 2022, they were such a dominant, strong team. Only falling short in the grand final to Wild, took second place. They have so much power installed. Even though I have to say, Scarix will not be playing today. Cloudy actually will be subbing in for the evening. Could influence a bit here and there. On the flip side, we have Calories. And Calories is one of the teams from Casting Combine, which I certainly fell in love with. Obviously, I casted most of it with Grace, and Grace has such a deep understanding as well as such a deep passion for the UK teams. And they're, I mean, without naming anyone, Calories is just one of the best examples for UK teams stepping up their game in the international competition, also fighting quite significantly. Seriously, it's such a tough prediction to say the least. I wish a tie would be possible, but I know it will not be possible.
Yeah.
Judging from the past, I think Calories has a little bit of a better understanding on how to win, even though as a German myself, I'm cheering a bit more obviously for one of the German teams. My heart is divided. My heart is fully divided. It's tough.
Yeah, I bet it would be. Yeah, again, as I said, I really have no idea who, like, I really have limited information about both of these teams, so it really would be hard for me to you know, give any sort of insight. The only thing that really will be making my decision for me is the fact that I like the name Grizzly, and Grizzly owns our Calories, so I will be giving my vote to Calories based simply on Grizzly's name, and
That is
that's
one of
really
the most fundamentally well decided how you say it, well, one of the best decisions on how to vote for a team. I love it.
Yeah. It goes coin flip and then name of a player that you like. That's it. Or not even the player that you like, because they don't know Grizzly. It's just the name you like on any team. That's it.
Well,
But
chat, let us know, what do you think? Team Alpha against Calories. We're about to start kicking it off on Cafe. And as you know, we're not talking any longer. We actually will be diving right in. Team Alpha against Calories. What do you say out there?
Yeah. I'm very, very excited. Finally, we get into this. We were talking for quite a while here. Oh, geez, it was like what, 15 minutes of us just talking. And there's gonna be hopefully another hour and 15 minutes, which spoiler alert, hour and 15 minutes is what typically 15 rounds should last. And oh my goodness, the first map is on the board. It's Lion, which I did not expect. Like, if you had asked me 5 minutes ago who I think was gonna get banned on Cafe, Lion would not be even in the top 5. Silver, do you know something that I don't about why Lion got banned here? Is it like a target ban, or is it just that Lion has become a lot stronger than I remember last?
I have to look back into my notes, but honestly, it's not amongst the top bans for Team Alpha as well. I mean, honestly, it does make sense, as we all know Cafe is quite a cubic map, quite a map where roaming can be relatively tough. Only in the vertical direction, a lot of things are possible. And if you can shut down even that with a line, you could be limited for quite an extent. I mean, it gives me the taste that aggression certainly will be available, as well as Monty not playable, meaning Ram actually should be playable. Azami off the board for the defense does make a lot of sense, as well as Solace. Yeah, for the defense, I cannot name it any better than what they did.
Yeah.
The Monty, though, just to highlight that, actually is their 4th highest ban outside of Calories. I only would have expected Dokubi to come out on top of that. But, I mean, with Lion already off the board, Dokubi is playable for themselves, and they already should be looking at picking that for the first round.
And it looks like they are, and there we go. Ram is indeed getting picked up by Skydy here, and oh no, he switched on to look. Come on. Okay, they might. The attacker repick is a thing. They still might do it depending on which bomb site they discover to have been played. But I really hope that we get to see Ram here. I hope it with my entire heart. Also, this is the first time that I'm seeing the new layout and stuff for the season. It's not just me, right? Like, everybody has a shadow, like a really thick shadow, including the bomb chassis. Like, it's a little bit. I don't mind it. It's just new. It's all I'm saying. On the from the observer POV, it's like everybody has that might be a visual bug because the season's still new. But if that's an actual addition, it's kind of interesting.
Yeah.
You see everything? I don't know. But yeah, they will be defending that top floor bomb site first, and with the attacker repick now gone as the prep phase ends, there will be no Ram. However, they did pick onto the glass, which I do think that we can expect to see the glass playing off of those windows. Of course, Cafe is one of those maps that is very heavy as far as repelling on the windows goes, and I think that's something that we can definitely expect. Also, Fenrir definitely should make this a lot more interesting than it already would be.
Absolutely. Typically, a lot of teams tend to ban Fenrir as well. Looking at the pass for Cafe. Well, Cafe is not a map where you necessarily have to ban it. It's not something like Bang where you actually have to squeeze in for some angles. But looking at it right now, Cal's already made some good progress throughout the map. Actually already is settling themselves up in the side of reading. Trying to leverage the control upwards as well. I mean, nades are still in the back pocket. Oscar actually the one to open it up onto Icox. No more Jaeger left in play for this time around. Also, potentially, Oscar there to hijack the cams, at least all the cams which are left in play. Should be giving them an edge throughout the rest of the round as well, but obviously the opening frag already is quite good for themselves. SkyT setting themselves up on the upper floor section with that nade Pano of the board. A good start for Calories.
Yeah, a brilliant start for them. Already have such a significant man advantage, and there goes the rappel into the cocktail balcony as well. So all of these attackers now flooding onto the bomb site. Killian's side of that freezer can't really do much. Koji under attack as well. He'll go down. Canio in the bomb site, taking down two. It's all down to Cloudy on the mute. Making his way now through the piano, trying to get back into the bomb site. Gets one, denies the flawless. Grizzly now going for the plant. There goes a C4, bit of a misdirection. Taking a lot of damage, and it's from the pixel angle. It's Oscar. He started it, he finished it. The round will go Calories' way. And Team Alpha look like they're calling for a tech pause. I hope that that round did not come down to somebody having connection issues or some sort of lag issues. Of course, you never want to start a game off that way. It definitely sets you up for a little bit of a mental challenge as well. But regardless, though, Calories, very well executed round there. In and out, quickly, very confident. I absolutely loved watching that. I'm not going to lie. That was a really good round for Calories.
I mean, this is exactly what I've been talking about, right? When it comes to dominance, when it comes to aggression, Calories certainly has such a deep understanding, not only how to attack, but also especially how to attack on Cafe. And we had everything. We had vertical nades, we had up nades, we had lateral line of sight throughout the windows. We had almost everything. A good map control, a good map clearance. I really loved how they did that. And, you know, somewhat of an option I do see for the side of Team Alpha, which Grace picked up on in the past quite significantly, is these goblin plays, right? Calories, as well as Team Alpha, they know how to play unconventionally. Obviously, Faye does not leave you all too many options, as well as now that Azami is off the board, you can't really generate these cover areas from thin air again, meaning that you have to position yourself in unpredictable spots or even just try to utilize utility in an unconventional way, which can be relatively tough. It is just the first round. Given, yes, even though I have to say the way Calories won that round certainly already set the tone.
Yeah, I would have to agree. That was a very dominant, very, as I said, confident round from them. They had seemingly everything in position that they needed to. They had the Nomad covering off those potential rounds. They had the Glass on the window covering the Dokubi, who was pushing in through reading. The vertical grenades, of course, from up on the skylight. The Brava with the shotgun to open up those hatches. The Brava drones coming in, hacking as much of that utility as possible. And at the end, you were really left with nothing. If you were Team Alpha, we saw a lot of those players just being stuck in these positions and not really being able to do anything. We saw Koji on the Mira being stuck there on the planks position on top of White Stairs, Killy inside of Freezer, and neither of them could really do anything. Cloudy isolated inside of Piano, can't really push either way because he was going to get attacked no matter what he did. So it's like a very well grounded round from Calories where they had everything that they needed covered off. And they had the confidence in themselves to know that they could take these gunfights, that they could go in, they could get these skills, that they could get the job done. We saw that from Kemi, we saw that from Oscar. They were in there, they got it done, round's over. And if that is a theme that they continue with throughout this entire matchup, and provided that Alpha don't catch on to what they're doing and how they play it, it really could end up being a quick closeout from Calories. But of course, it is Cafe, which is tends to be quite a defender-sided map. Of course, you already spoke about this, how, you know, just being on defense, you're already in a bit of an advantageous position just because of the nature of the game and of the map. So Alpha definitely still have quite a chance to make this back up. And, you know, you said it, I'm saying it again. It's only one round, and really that first round, you know, it's the most 50-50 split that it could possibly be. It tends to be that way because there's so much information that you don't have about your opponents on how they're going to play it. So losing that round and learning from it and knowing, okay, this is how they play. This is how we're gonna counter it. Is definitely very useful, even if you lose that round because of how much you're. So if you're a Team Alpha fan out there, definitely do not lose hope at this point because it's just one round. And they definitely still could make it back up, especially on Cafe Defense. I really have no doubt that they will make up at least a few more rounds.
Absolutely. I really think it's interesting to note, or even important to look at, that we are coming in a situation where Team Alpha has to make somewhat of adaptations, either in the way they play, the way they are positioning themselves, or the way they focus into the gunfights themselves. Because, like we saw, they've lost the gunfight one floor underneath, which already opened up massively map control in favor of Calories. Then they fell to the nade from the ceiling, which also, it really opens the door for the attack to just come in from each and every side, especially in the upper floor section, where you have so many line of sights, which you have to be worried about. Whereas you have to play more passively, try to not fall as early as we just saw it. Obviously, like you touched on that already, it is just the first round. So many things could be changed right now towards the next couple of rounds. But also we have to understand it already sets the tone, right? And Calories, with such a banger opening, such a dominant frag-heavy opening, I really think that it enables them quite significantly. As well as we said, typically Cathay, if you look at the statistics, it's more an even-Stevens map. But if you already have one round in your own favor as an attacker and you were able to set it off, it pushes you so significantly for the rest of the round, or even, to say the least, the rest of the half whenever you play on attack. Whereas Team Alpha, like I said, they have to play a bit more cautious, a bit more patiently, and try to look at winning their gunfights in the early time of the round. But we're not talking for any longer. We're diving right back into it.
Nice. Yeah, I was getting a little bit, tired there of just talking, and I'm sure the people watching as well were, but definitely covered all of the bases as far as that round goes, and I couldn't agree with you more about what you said there last about Team Alpha having to grit their work a little bit more here, but we're back in it here. They're going back upstairs. They're confident that they can run this back and then they can win it this time. A lot of the times teams might decide to go for a different bomb site, decide, okay, this really did not work out, but Team Alpha are confident in themselves. They know what they did wrong. They know what Calories did to shut them down the way that they did, and they're looking to try and remedy all of that as the prep phase for round 2 ends, and we get started right into it here with round 2.
Well. Round number 2. Obviously, with that slight technical rehost, we just have to understand that there was a lot of time for Team Alpha to discuss things, to go through potentially the mistakes they've made in that first round, even if you can name it that way, and kind of trying to understand how they're playing this time around. As this time around, they well positioned 1, but actually 2 players underneath. They understood, hey, okay, Calories is making a lot of progress from that side onwards, is trying to leverage these updates, is trying to leverage upwards control, and it does make sense that this time around they're playing with more manpower on that side, though you have to understand that still you're quite vulnerable, right? You don't really have the setup to favor you. You really barely have reinforcements or a slight amount of utility. And looking back at Icox already trying to fight in both directions, especially with the logic bomb call. Gets lit up significantly, falls to Skyty. Now it comes down to the last man setting downwards there. It's Keely in the nade, as well as the frags falling once again in favor of Calories. They certainly know exactly how to find these openings.
Yeah, that was absolutely crazy. The fact that they were shooting them through walls, that they were just getting lit up every which way, it definitely does tell me a little bit more about their information game and how useful those drones definitely can be, because even through the Fenrir smoke, they were still able to find those kills and able to find that damage. Scotty taking a lot of damage and now finally going down to that vertical angle by Pano. Definitely a good refrag there from Team Alpha. And there goes another one. Lamp as well is on quite low HP. So Team Alpha are looking a little bit better for wear than they did at this time in round 1. But that opener still was very, very good for Calories. However, now getting a little bit slowed down by the refrag potential, by the refragability actually from Team Alpha. Now having to stall just a little bit, but that window repel doing a little bit of damage there onto Koji, not quite enough to kill him, but Oscar is there, finds Vano. Koji will be the next one to go down, and it's all down to Cloudy once again in this 1 versus X situation. Can't do much. There goes the repel into Cocktail, or actually it was Lamb coming up from the white stairs to take him down behind that bomb chassis. The round once again going Calories' way, and despite Team Alpha looking like they could maybe take it back once they got that man advantage, or once they got that man count down to even, Calories were just a little too trigger happy for Team Alpha to really be able to do anything about it. And once again, I will say Calories very, very confident in their positioning and very, very strong with that positioning, both downstairs with we saw those opening kills, but also later on with cutting off that entire freezer position from the window repel. Very, very confident round for Calories again, and forcing now Team Alpha to go to a completely different bomb site, as they do not want to risk it for 3 in a row.
I mean, once again, these openings, they really easily fell in favor of Calories. I'm not really sure what they're trying to do down there, but we have to say Calories is just so good at finding these openings, finding the pressure on the shoulders of Team Alpha. Even now that they've played down there with 2 people, still they were able to find them isolated, and with the tools of the attackers significantly introducing the pressure early on, which I think is quite a key point on how they approach attacks. Not really trying to waste time, but actually go directly in the important spots. Certainly it's a quality I would say that Calories went to show us a couple of times in the past, but this time once again, even though the round was closer in the end, still obviously it fell in favor of Calories. Now Team Alpha decided to not go for Orange Cocktail again. It will be Ridding as well as Fireplace. Actually, a little bit of a flip upside down, as now they have the roamers in the upper floor section. Trying to see how well that will work, as we've seen them not really able to pull off that much in the last round.
Yeah, and early engagements here coming out, or at least potentially could be coming out here, as Killy is holding down the fort inside of Piano. Those walls reinforced and just trying to hold off anybody from pushing him. Of course, that could be Oscar, I think. Who's that up on the roof? I'm not sure, but he's definitely under a lot of pressure now, as those window repels are coming into play quite a bit. It's Oscar doing a little bit of damage, forcing him away, and now giving away that position upstairs instead of Piano is definitely going to give Calories quite a bit of an advantage. But what's going to give Team Alpha the advantage will be the opening kill there onto Lamb. Definitely very, very good job there from Team Alpha to finally get that opening frag in the 3rd round of this matchup. And still holding on to that top floor is Pano, now getting protected by that logic bomb as well. Enio on the window, trying to cut off any potential angles coming up from this side, while Calories is still trying to set themselves up for a potential execute.
And don't forget the canisters of Grim, they can actually bounce, but you have to make a setting in order to do so. I think that was Kaneo was trying to pull off, but this time around, looking at it, we have a different starting grounds, as Team Alpha was already able to pull off the opening frag. Lamb actually fell early on, effectively leaving us with under a minute in an advantageous situation for Team Alpha. Once again, the upper four in hand of Calories. Potential there to utilize the verticality. Logic Bomb call coming through as well, but they have the mute jammers in order to deal with them. Quite a good adaptation on that side as well. 2 people still playing around the side of mining. Really like that they're still holding down to the map control. Oscar lit up a tiny bit, but for the time being, actually no one falling short, as now the timer should hit under 20 seconds. And now it's going to be relatively interesting to see how well will they find the spot itself. How well will they be able to pull it off? Icox with a frag onto Kaneo. Oscar down for the moment. Icox with that second one to follow it up. Skyty as well as Grizzly, last 2 standing, and Icox up there. Grizzly finds 1 in retaliation. Grizzly, last man standing, will also fall in favor of Keely. Alpha finally able to find their first round 1 in their own favor.
Wow. What a beautiful round there from Team Alpha. Beautiful display of patience where we saw Calories getting very, very aggressive in the early parts of the round, pretty much every single round so far, especially in those first two, we saw Team Alpha dropping away as soon as there was trouble. We saw that was Keely on the Oryx, sitting inside a piano, dropping away as soon as there was pressure and keeping himself alive for the entire remainder of the round. Icox, of course, on the Aruni, just holding the fort down, still inside of bar and not really giving anything away too quickly to Calories, and I think that is really what hurt them. Of course, that timer getting down as low as it did, with them having virtually no map control to speak of, it definitely hurt them. And Team Alpha, being as patient as they were and dropping away, knowing when to quit and knowing when to pull back, definitely was the winning factor there for them. Also, funnily enough, we spoke a big game about Ram and about how she's going to be huge on vertical maps, and how, you know, as soon as the cafe got picked, we're like, oh, this is going to be, you know, Ram heaven. But you know, on probably the most valuable bomb site where verticality is the most valuable, they didn't even bring her. I don't know if they even thought of her. I don't know how much of a difference she would have made, just because, you know, of course, at that point, you know, Sledge Ram kind of become the same thing with the timer being that low. But I do wonder if it would have been any different. But now they're downstairs into kitchen and service, and Calories are already well on their way to try and attack this from potentially Freezer side with that Ying, which could cause quite a few issues here for Team Alpha if they're not prepared for it.
Well, this time around they're playing the kitchen section, which, to say so, speaking about the past, actually is one of the better sides for Team Alpha, as they're leveraging the horizontal lines quite more than typically teams would do, which is a big upside for Team Alpha. But with the Glass, I'm really keen to see how well Glass will be able to come into the map, because especially to deal with these long line of sights, to deal with these aggressive roamer, soft roam heavy playstyles, it should be a good understanding. It should be a good starting ground to touch on that. But actually, Keely and Icox will be the first ones to find frags in favor of Team Alpha. Actually, once again, Team Alpha starts off with a bang, as they're the ones in their own favor. SkyT finds one in retaliation. Icox off the board, still one man up, as Koji now falls as well. It will be once again a favor for Calories, but Keely makes it work. Once again, favor for Team Alpha, 3v2.
3v2 indeed, and I do want to point your eyes to the top right side of your screen to look at the drone count currently for Calories. That means that they have virtually no information, and this is exactly why that's a problem. Skydie will go down, but Grizzly's able to refrag there onto Cloudy. I did not think that he was going to be able to do that against that shotgun, but he did manage to pull it off, and now Grizzly, quite low HP, trying to pull this off in a 1 versus 2, Bailiff in hand. It does so much damage even if he was able to hit him. Unfortunately for him, he whiffed, and it's Keely to clean it all up. It's Team Alpha to equalize the scoreline at 2 rounds apiece. And Calories could be starting to struggle here a little bit. Of course, you know, it is sort of to be expected, considering that it is Cafe, considering that it is quite defender-sided. Calories are starting on attack. But considering what we saw from them in the first 2 rounds, for them to sort of be looking the way that they are and the way that they have been the past couple, it definitely does put a question mark above their name, at least to me, about what we could potentially be seeing here from them for the remainder of this half at the very least. But now,
yeah, sorry.
No, sorry, it's just you were kind of quiet for a little bit. I thought you were, I thought you maybe had left me for a little bit, but no.
I would never.
Okay, nice.
Now, I was just thinking, because looking at the first 2 rounds, it was quite a good start, quite a one-sided start from the sort of Calories, and now we're sitting at 2-2, which Team Alpha actually made quite some work in order to pull it back. Specifically, these opening frags in the last 2 rounds fell in favor of Team Alpha. Then as well, the follow-up frags as well, no immediate refrags. Really, once again, it seems like Bar as well as Cocktail is a tougher spot for them. And I mean, if I can judge from the past, they have a 67% win rate, like I said, here on Cafe. But if I look on the upper floor section, actually, their win rate drops quite significantly, only to 34%, which is quite indicative, I would say, to how they want to play. They want to utilize verticality themselves. They want to have roamers up above. They want to have map presence, which, like I said, from the past, it allows them to play more freely. It allows them to play more aggressively themselves. Opposite to that, if you play in the upper floor section, you can be bound to whatever your opponent does. You can be bound to, like we've seen, it already happened from the sort of calories. Verticality, up nades, specifically looking at these up nades, quite a big danger for a lot of defenders.
Yeah, they definitely could be, and they have been already, but it could be a bit of a danger for the attackers, could be those Capcan traps. Of course, we've seen Calories be very, very good on their information game, but we've also seen them lack it quite a bit, as we just saw in the round previous. So, depending on how that goes, that really, really could be the Achilles heel here for Calories. It does tend to be for quite a few teams, especially when Capcan is brought on a little bit later, such as this. And Calories missing up this breach a little bit. Of course, it's nothing that will prevent them from going into the piano room, but it is something that will definitely delay their attack, which, with time not being their friend in the past couple of rounds, it really could be a bit of an issue. But Lamb is there to find the opening frag once again. Cloudy wants a clutch position man now, the first one dead. A minute still to go. Calories now are starting to occupy more and more of the actual building, and with Lamb taking down another one, Icox the next one down. That is definitely opening the round wide open here for Calories, and that grenade could just be catching that Capcan. It doesn't, it misses, and Koji stays for the most part intact here inside of bathroom. Pano, however, taking a little bit of damage as well on the other side of the map. Still trying to hold on, but he's getting droned out heavy. Healy down below gets shut down. Unfortunately, all he could see was the top of the Sledge's head, and oh no, Koji inside a bathroom finally gets shut down. And a bit of a ring around the rosy, and it's Kano to find a final kill there onto Pano behind the bar. The round once again going Calories' way, and it's definitely showing that that bomb site is not a bomb site that Team Alpha can hold on to.
Well, I'm not really sure what it is, but Team Alpha is certainly playing in some degree too aggressive and not aggressive enough. I know it sounds really weird, but at least Pano was able to deny a flawless round for Calories. And looking back at it, 2 times attacked the upper floor section, 2 times won. Now the 3rd time, certainly they should be not looking at playing that again. Fortunately for themselves, they now can play a different bomb site. Now they can pull off once again speaking once again of the past, what they're famous for, at least in my eyes, using verticality for themselves, playing dominant, playing proactively, playing aggressively. It is what Team Alpha wants to do, and yet again at the same time they push themselves into the upper floor section, kind of like tying their hands together. But on the flip side, we have to put credit where credit is due. Calories plays good siege. They really know exactly how to approach that upper floor. They know exactly how to deal with Team Alpha, how to deal with that positioning. Even though they struggled a bit with the position in bathroom, in the end, they still found the frag. They still had all their utility, which was needed in order to deal with that player. Honestly, it's overall, when I talk about Calories, they play siege so well. I mean, looking at their past, looking at how well they attack, especially on maps which you typically see more in the defender side, which obviously Cafe is not necessarily doing so, but they know exactly how to utilize the power of attack, how to leverage the guns on long line of sights, how to leverage the utility, how to leverage grenades. It's just stunning to see.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more with you. And something that I have to point out here for Calories' attack here, of course, I mentioned it when they were attacking this bomb site previously, that they didn't even think about Ram. This time around, they didn't even think about Sledge or Buck, who of course are the sort of primary vertical aggressors. They instead went for just those soft recharges on the IQ and the floor. So of course, won't be doing as much vertical damage as much as he will be being used to take care of some of this utility. At least that's what we've been able to see so far, taking care of the barbed wire on the white stairs. An interesting choice, not necessarily a wrong choice, just interesting, and that's something that you get to see quite often. And with a minute already shaved off of that round, and then not, once again, not really having too much map control, I am starting to question it a little bit, but of course, there's still half the round left to play out, and Calories are setting themselves up into a position where they could absolutely be taking control upstairs. Pano under pressure from the windows, but still holding tight.
A minute and 20. Once again, Logic Bomb call coming through. Certainly does the job. Lamb with the opening frag for onwards to Pano. Once again, Calories finding their ones. And I have to say, obviously, these opening frags certainly open up map control, open up verticality for Calories, which is exactly how they want to play. Grizzly now with the drones on site. Grizzly my number one, at least there to somewhat find intel. Should not be able to destroy any utility, but obviously from up above, now Koji will be a little bit more under pressure. Oscar, though, down to the knee, as well as taken off by Keely. Ball before effectively, once again, Team Alpha slightly pulling it back to a tied man count.
40 seconds still to go. Kanya taking a little bit of damage there upstairs. Vertical angles working both ways here for both teams. Trying to do a little bit of vertical damage as well from below. Those smoke bays will be delaying them for a little bit longer. Trades coming out both ways. Man count even yet again. Grizzly is in the bomb set and getting that plant down. There's no way for them to prevent it right now. And the plant will go down. Cloudy down but not out at the moment, although pretty irretrievable. Icox trying to come up from below as they finish off Cloudy. Keely trying to retake upstairs as he knows he has to. There goes Icox shutting down one. Grizzly all alone now inside of laundry room. Vertical pressure regained here from Keely, but they're pretty disjointed and they don't really know where the last remaining player is. The plant or the defuse is attempted. Just as Keely drops down, Grizzly perfectly patient, finds one, finds the second, wins that round. After I cannot say that it really should have gone their way with the retake, especially the retake of the upper floor coming out from Team Alpha. They definitely let that one slip away, and now they're working with a round disadvantage as they head on into the attacking half of Cafe, which, you know, it definitely worked in the favor of Calories, but I don't know if Team Alpha are going to have the same fate here as they start to attack. That was definitely a round that they had in the bag, pretty much, that they unfortunately let slip away. And I don't know how they're going to recover from that now in attack.
I mean, we just have to highlight Grizzly. I mean, he plays so well. The patience, the understanding of the situation. Almost a miracle what he was able to pull off. As you said, the round already almost won for the side of Team Alpha. Yet again, at the same time, Calories was able to pull it back. Grizzly was able to pull it back. I just have to highlight this man. He played so phenomenally in the past, but also today he's really popping off. Looking at people who are popping off, obviously 5 and 2 for Grizzly, as well as Oscar. They're really pulling a lot of weight, but other than that, also Kenny, Lamb, Scotty, all of them are, you know, in a good state. On the flip side, obviously, we do see, unfortunately, and especially the team captain of Team Alpha, OG, not really finding their way into the game thus far. Obviously, things might change. The map is still not decided as of right now, but I'm really hoping that Team Alpha is finding their way back in the game now on attack. Maybe that favors them a tiny bit more. They really should be winning the rounds right now. Otherwise, Calories could be driving away relatively soon with a gentle lead.
Yeah, they definitely very could be, and that is definitely not going to bode all too well here for Team Alpha. Although you did mention Grizzly popping off and pulling off a miracle. I do want to say that I gave my vote to Calories based on his name alone, so just sort of putting that out there, take of that what you will. But nevertheless, though, the push, quite interestingly and quite completely differently to what we saw from Calories coming in from these white stairs, and so far it's not really working out as Koji will be the first one down from an angle that I would almost call impossible. I think I've seen that maybe once, and it's one of those that you see once and you kind of forget about it because no one ever does it, but it's a beautiful angle. Finds him the kill, and Keely now taking quite a lot of damage as well. There goes the next one down as Skydie down inside of the dining is able to still hold down the pressure coming up from those white stairs. Finds another one, and well, Calories are keeping their streak alive of getting that opening frag in the majority of these rounds. Team Alpha really struggling to breathe at this point as they lose their Sledge and their Ash, but Icox finally able to find a bit of a refrag there as he takes down Canio, dropping down one of those hatches, and now trying to find a little bit more pressure coming in onto that bathroom position. Of course, the mirror window can see him, not at this moment as he's perfectly hidden in a crouch position, but if he moves even a little bit, they will be able to see him, and well, he will be as good as dead. Although I think he's pushed a little bit further away, and Icos will find one. Skydie immediately with a refrag. There goes the drop from the skylight. Fano missing the shots there onto Fenrir, and he will be getting taken down. Keely all alone now. 1 HP, can't do anything against Skydie. The round will be going Calories' way, and now they're just a step away from match point as they find themselves at a 5-2 round lead. Definitely something that I was not expecting to see, even though Calories are as aggressive and did have that initial head start of a couple of rounds. I still did not expect them to go on a 5-2 lead. I'm gonna have to be honest here. I thought that Alpha would be able to pull back a couple more rounds. I thought that maybe they would at least be able to get an even round count at the half, but Calories are just a little too excited, a little bit too good with this, and with Koji still not really contributing to his team. Of course, it's a team game. It takes way more than just one player getting kills, but when you are playing that entry frag role, or at least that sort of entry flex role with the sledge, you kind of need to be able to get those kills, or at least secure yourself a life. And with them not being able to do that, it definitely is hurting Team Alpha a little bit. But so is so many of the things that they're doing, a little bit of their positioning. But I think overall, it's not so much the mistakes that they are making. It really is Calories being a little bit more dominant here.
Certainly so. And I mean, speaking of the past, once again, 7-1 was the last result once they faced off against each other on Chalet in favor of Calories. Also a rather one-sided result. And like you said, we're one step away of a potential match point here for Calories. Only 2 rounds is what it takes in order for them to bring it all the way to a victory for themselves. Obviously, we're not there yet. Team Alpha still has all the time to pull it back, but obviously it will be harder and harder the longer this goes on. This time, they're going for a little bit of a different approach, utilizing 2 Intel operators, as we do see the Gemini replicator right now dropping into the map, as well as the logic bombs inside of, or with the utility of Dokkaebi. Certainly, we are getting good understanding that they're lacking information, that they're lacking an understanding, and Oscar certainly right now lit up a fair bit, and as he tried to go down, Keely opens up the round. This is exactly what they were in need of, finding an opening frags, finding the ones in their own favor, potentially looking at right now more than that, but Keely should not be too aggressive because we still have 2 players upstairs, still more than enough in order to deal with the aggressive power of Team Alpha, which is currently setting themselves up for that upper floor control.
Yeah, and that C4 getting blown just a tiny bit too early or a tiny bit too late, missing potentially 2 kills there, but Lamb is able to find one at the Pano there. Kind of will follow that up with another one on the Keely as well, and Team Alpha find themselves in a depressingly familiar position of men disadvantage. 3-4 currently for them, and they still have quite a bit of utility left in their pocket, but without those grenades, some of these positions might be a little bit harder for them to clear. Those logic bombs will definitely, or that final remaining logic bomb will definitely be very, very useful here. Utilizing those impact PMPs as well to try and get this wall opened up from Freezer. It definitely does the job of pushing Kano away from that position inside of Cocktail, and it allows Team Alpha a little bit more breathing room as they try to attack that upper floor and try to gain a little bit more advantage for themselves. Of course, Icox has flashbangs in pocket, not self-reach charges, so their verticality will be limited. I think they're only going to be able to utilize those. Oh, actually, never mind. They have a bailiff. I forgot about that. Lamb will take down Koji. Icox, however, is there to take down Grizzly. Cloudy and Icox now in a 2 versus 3, limited utility, limited information. There goes the information from the Bees getting deployed. Icox will find one at the Caneo. They have the site control now. They're going to be trying to go for the plant. I'm not really expecting them to be going so deep. Neither is Skydie. They're still looking for them in the other part of the bomb site. Cloudy now pushing outside with the plant sticking. Lamb trying to swing here onto the hallway. Finds a little bit of damage onto Cloudy. Not enough to take him down just yet, however. Skydie going in from the opposite side. A little bit of a wall bang there. Could just be taking down the player, but no, it's Sycox and Cloudy to find a player each, and they're able to take this round for themselves, keep Calories at bay, at least for now, and put themselves a little bit closer to closing this gap the Calories have now built up throughout the past few rounds.
Honestly, very good change of pace for the side of Team Alpha to keep Calories right on their toes, as they were the ones to deploy that diffuser. They were the ones to get into that, post-round situation, which typically favors the attack much more. Obviously, I have to say the usage of Grim was perfect for my taste. Typically an operator which is very situational, very, useful, but really only depending on what side you're attacking, what spots you're attacking, and also what playstyle the defense is bringing to the table. Though I have to say, Team Alpha really beautifully pulled this off together as a team. For the most part, they've gotten the map control relatively quickly throughout that opening frag for themselves, even though they have been punished in retaliation. They have been, limited, especially with that C4, that verticality, but then they were, coming back to that thought process of getting relatively quickly on site, going to that diffuser plan, bringing the timer towards a pressure situation towards your opponents. Definitely a better approach. And obviously, it's still only a step away for Calories in order to go on to match point themselves, but Team Alpha certainly is able to pull it back, as they've just shown us in that last round. 2 more to go, and that would already mean that we have a tie right here. But obviously, we're not there yet. Still more and more effort to come for the side of Team Alpha. And I certainly can assure you, Calories is also making the adaptations, is making their steps, whatever is needed, in order to not allow Team Alpha to pull this back.
Yeah, I definitely could see that already, but Skydee will be able to find that opening frag onto Icox. Was that through the window? Oh yeah, it was. That was through the window down there on the AC units, and now they've lost not only that Habana, who is oh so crucial in taking that map control. We just saw it happen in the round previous, how important Icox on that Habana was. So it's not just the Habana that they lost, but they also lost currently their top fragger. They lost a player who was crucial to that round win just a few minutes ago. So losing that player, losing that operator, especially when you have a player who's still not really contributing in terms of kills, definitely is going to hurt them a little bit. But this really could be the round that it all changes for Koji, and he could be finding some success as far as kills go. Meanwhile, a minute already shaved, actually maybe even call that 90 seconds already shaved off of that first run. They're just now starting to try and gain a little bit of that map control, and Keeley, very confident, in quick, finds that frag onto Lamb, equalize the man count yet again, and is swiftly taking care of some of this utility that is still delaying them upstairs. A lot of these open angles here for Calories, waiting for any of the Team Alpha players to walk into them. Meanwhile, Team Alpha still trying to gain a little bit of map control, while half of their players are still up on the roof.
The 1 minute mark now being met. There's Skyty as well as Oscar. Low HP though. Keely, the one to find the frag. Just before that, Skyty was the one finding Payno. 3v3 situation effectively, especially if you look at the damage which has been dealt towards Skyty. It should be a little bit more of a favorable position for Team Alpha, though they're not on side yet. We still have players in positions where it doesn't seem like Alpha knows about. Triple kill for Keely, as he also was able to find Skyty. 2 only left on the side of Calories, Grizzly and Canio. What will they able to pull off? What will they be able to pull off? As one of them is deep inside of trains, and the other one is positioned outside of Pillar. Should be, a little bit tougher, as they cannot really work as a team, though we have to say at least they're not spotted towards their attackers thus far. And now Grizzly could be falling to timing, as Koji's the one coming down the staircase, finding himself on the leaderboard. Canio finds retaliation on towards Cloudy. Potential more to come, but no, it will be Keely with his 4th one this round, and the man pulls it off time and time again, especially also after he could not see a single bit. Wow, that is Team Alpha as they live, as they breathe.
Yeah, I could not agree more. And Koji says, got mine. That I will point out that I do have this sort of track record of whenever I mention that a player is currently working with 0 kills, they do tend to get a kill in that round, or like the round following me saying that. So I'm not saying that I'm taking the credit for that. I'm just saying that I might have been the motivation there for Koji. Maybe he heard me, through the echo through space and time, and he was able to hear me, 3 minutes later say that. But nevertheless, though, very, very good round there from Team Alpha. It looked a little dicey there for a little while, but they were very, very good at being able to regain that map control and being able to isolate the last remaining players. Of course, Skydie being all the way inside of pillars, which I thought that could be a potentially worrying position for Team Alpha if they're not careful, where he could come around to flank them, or he could come around to surprise them. But they had those red stairs covered off, which was the only position that Skydie could really get out of that position through, and they were able to cut him off. And then Grizzly being inside of trains, of course, also sort of shut him down. Again, it got a little dicey there towards the end in that 1v2, and after he got that beautiful shot through the wall onto white stairs. I'm not sure who that player was, but nevertheless, though, got a little dicey. Team Alpha, however, still were able to prevail, and now, after it didn't look like they were going to be able to take it, anywhere close to this scoreline of 5-4, where you were even, reminiscing back to their previous matchup that ended up at 7-1 to Calories, they now find themselves just a round away from equalizing this entire score count, and that really could change completely the pace of this game, as it could make Calories, or it could force them to, shake in their boots a little bit and think, hey, what the hell happened, guys? We were winning just a second ago. What happened? How do we get here? So it could be a bit of a mental game here, but of course we're gonna have to wait and see for that. With the first minute gone, Lamb was a little bit too slow getting away from that Flores drone. Oscar Ever was not too slow with that C4 to take down Icox, and the next one going down will be Keely, Pano, Koji, and Cloudy. Familiar faces in a 3vx. Now, having to pull this back from the reins after Calories once again took a significant man advantage in the early seconds of the round.
Absolutely. And it really seems like, I was about to say, it really seems like a little bit of Jimmy wrestling is happening on the side of Team Alpha. But then the rest of that round, which already happened, was going on. And I was like, okay, well, you're going a bit too quick for my taste. And yeah, Calories once again showing Team Alpha where the borders are, where the boundaries are. Lamb finding the head of Koji. Only 2 people up and living for the side of Team Alpha in order to pull this back, in order to deny that potential match point for the side of Calories. It will be tough, but it is possible. Grizzly finds Cloudy. Last man standing is going to be Pano. What will he be able to pull off? It is certainly going to be very tough. Also, only 40 seconds left on the clock. Also, the time will be a little bit of a factor for him, but it is still possible. He just has to find these first couple of ones in his own favor, and as they will be peeking into him, it could be possible. On the other side, Calories very patiently hiding. Only a bit of damage been dealt with towards Oscar. Lamb lit up a tiny bit, but now they're getting hungry for him, and there you go. Calories takes that very last frag for themselves, gets that flawless round under their own belt, and also gets that precious map point for themselves.
Yeah, that was yeah, I mean, really, there's a lot of things that I could say here about Team Alpha and their execution. I think that there's definitely a good idea there. Catching your enemies by surprise in that way, of Icox and Keely both dropping down. I do believe that was Skylight, and just trying to go for those frags, especially because they are, I do believe, in 12 and 13, respectively. So, they definitely can frag out. And so far, they've been very, very crucial as far as that goes. So there was definitely a good idea. The execution obviously did not go their way, but I wonder what really caused that. Was it just them whiffing, losing gunfights? Was it the fact that Calories had crosshairs set up crossfire set up that Team Alpha just weren't able to deal with, or specifically Keely and Icox? Or was it something more sinister? Was it just pure misinformation, not droning well enough, maybe not droning at all? That is where I get a little bit worried for Team Alpha, because if it came down to losing gunfights, well, it's just what can you do? But if it came down to misinformation or not droning well enough, that really, really could be a problem, because, it's a fundamental, basic of Siege. I mean, we spoke about this all the way back at the start of the match. When we were talking about Oregon, how, you know, if you have those basic fundamentals down for a map like Oregon, then you should be fine. If you have those fundamentals down sort of in general, you should be fine on a map like Oregon. So if they're lacking in the information department, which is such a crucial and fundamental thing in Siege, that is where I worry for them long term, because it is definitely not one of those things that you can sort of survive without having down to a T. But Calories now going to the reading and dining room bomb site, which of course was the round that Team Alpha won after it was kind of looking crazy and it didn't look like they were gonna. So it really could go either way here. Calories could have learned from their mistakes, or Team Alpha could be just as good as they were before. We'll have to see.
Yep, certainly so. I mean, we're there. Match point is there for the set of Calories. They certainly will be looking at a more comfortable round for themselves, as obviously the pressure is right now on the side of Team Alpha. Not only because they're on the attacker side, but also since they need to be the ones to make 2 rounds work in order to pull this all the way to overtime. Grizzly lit up a tiny bit there on the Vulcan canister, and for the time being, actually a relatively slow approach, I'd say, compared all to the other rounds, as none of the end players is off the board thus far. Obviously, it does make sense, right? Calories playing a bit more patiently on the other side. Team Alpha also not willing to risk it too much for the biscuit right now, though the positioning is insane from the side of Calories. Lamb opening frag onto Keely. Keely being the top fragger, the top energy lead on the side of Team Alpha, not there anymore. Only drone duty and cam duty will be left for him to do throughout the rest of the round. Obviously, a little bit of a problem already thus far for the side of Team Alpha, but they still have to make it work. They still have to make progress on towards side in order to find the round 1 in their own favor. And Icox finds Lamb. Certainly a good starting point to find the frags in your own favor. Koji lit up a tiny bit as he was walking through fire, and now the first ones are starting to drop back towards side. And these C4 tosses could be brilliant, but they're dodged miraculously. And 40 seconds left on the clock. Team Alpha needs to make more pressure in order to pull this one off.
No more utility left, or very limited utility left as far as verticality goes. They're going to have to using these X-Kairos to try and gain a little bit more information, a little bit more lines of sight onto the bomb set itself. And now it's really going to come down to the dire seconds of trying to get that bomb down, and it doesn't look like they're going to be able to do that, as Grizzly is able to shut them down. He shuts down one, shuts down a second. Koji and Pano make that just Pano. Actually, no, it's Koji. Well, now it is just Pano, as Koji goes down. 1v2, diffuser in hand, he's able to isolate. Canio finds that frag. Grizzly now having to retake, but no, he did not go for the plan. He tried to go for the kill, and it's Grizzly with the turnaround that finds the final frag. The game, or the round and the game, will be going Calories' way. Canio, the MVP, according to the game. Unbelievable. Wow. I really thought for a second there that it was gonna go the way of Alpha, especially once it was Pano in a 1v1 essentially with that diffuser in hand, bomb site control. I thought he would at least try to stick it, but I guess, you know, he thought that maybe he could get the kill. Although I don't really know how he thought he could if he was just sprinting then have his gun up. Very, very unfortunate there for the way that turned out for Team Alpha, especially considering how far they were able to bring it back. But I guess at least they made up some ground from where they left it off before, where was Calories winning at 7-1. So I guess that's a little bit of a consolation prize there. But I definitely think that they could have done more, and I think they're going to be kicking themselves a little bit for maybe not having done so. But, you know, definitely congratulations there to Calories. They've had quite a few really, really, really good rounds. And even thinking back to that clutch back in round 6 of Grizzly, I think that really was a crucial round there, because of course without that round they wouldn't have been able to build themselves that lead of 5-2, or at least a 4-2 rounds all the way back on the split. So, you know, sort of across the board, Calories definitely were the more dominant team, and it's clear.
I mean, the thing is, right, especially throughout the round swap, you already got that taste of what is to expect these first 2 rounds as well, where Calories was just completely off the leash, completely went dominant to their opponent. And then throughout the rest of the game, topping it off with that flawless round, getting towards that map control relatively early on, getting not only to finding these open effects almost all the times in their own favor is certainly something that shouldn't happen, especially in such a matchup where we have two high quality teams. On the other side, I just have to say that it is going to be looking like that if, from time to time you just let rounds slip away, like you said, especially these rounds which were already decided, and then Alpha somewhat wasn't really making up their minds and didn't really pull on one spring on the side. But in the end, it can only be one team taking that W. It can only be one team taking the win. And I have to say, time and time again, I am just so impressed of Calories, how well they play, especially how well they attack, especially on maps where attackers are not really looking at rounds too comfortably, where you have to make work, where you have to put in the effort. I just have to say, Team Calories is just such a phenomenal team when it comes to that. As you said as well, Alpha certainly made good improvements throughout the game. They certainly won their rounds as well, especially after dropping these first two. But unfortunately, it just wasn't enough. And looking back at it, I really think there's a lot of potential to be drawn out of this match.
Yeah, I think there definitely is, and I hope that Team Alpha are gonna go back and watch that VOD and see what they did wrong and what they can improve on. Because there's, as you said, there's so much potential still left for them, and I definitely don't doubt that they're gonna be able to recover from this and come the majors and the minors. I'm not really sure where they stand at this point, but come the actual league, I think that they're definitely gonna be doing quite a lot better. But I think that will close out this matchup right now, and we'll be taking a short break, after which we'll be coming back to you with another match. It will be Foyer Fry versus Blue Jay Talents. I probably butchered the pronunciation of that, so I probably should have left that to the German here in the desk here to say. But never mind though. We'll be taking a short break, and when we come back, it will be a new match. So stay tuned. Hello, everyone, and welcome back to oh my God, to Vibrant League. My apologies. Welcome back to Vibrant League. My name is Retro. I'm joined here by Silver, and we are back here with another matchup. If you missed it, we just had Team Alpha versus Calories, which was quite an interesting match. that got played out on Cafe, and we never got to see Ram. Although we talked about how much we wanted to see Ram and how much we would definitely see Ram on Cafe, but unfortunately we never got to see her. So now, with Feuerfrei versus Blue Jays Talents, hopefully we get to see an interesting map, and hopefully we get to see some Ram. I definitely would love to see her get played out, although I think that it definitely depends on what map we get to see.
Absolutely. I mean, honestly, we not only have a new operator, but also new maps, obviously, added to the map pool. And honestly, I cannot wait to get my hands on to not only new maps, but also the new operators, to see them be played in the competitive background. I mean, I do have to be looking at them before EOL comes back up, because then it will be a complete massacre. I really think, and I think this could be an interesting point for us to discuss, whenever teams play a map a certain style, once T1 teams are picking up a map and then start to form a meta, things are getting one-sided relatively soon. And I really think that specifically with new maps, specifically, of course, also with a new operator, things are right now not set in stone, right? Now is the best time to look at a map, go in depth into it, specifically looking at, for something like Contract and Nighthaven maps, where no direct meta is set right now, only obviously the ranked meta from the past season. You really can go in depth into it. You really can try around with it as much as you want, and try to find your own playstyle, because right now there's no set meta in stone, especially not when you look at the competitive background.
Yeah, I definitely agree with you. And well, unfortunately, as much as I would love to see, the Nighthaven Labs, the Consulate, I think that they would definitely be very, very interesting, especially Nighthaven Labs. I think the Consulate, despite the rework, might end up getting played out a little bit similar to how old Consulate did get played out, just because although the rework was pretty significant in terms of the upper floor and not no longer being that repel simulator, I think that the core of the map remained the same, which I do appreciate the fact that they didn't just do a complete overhaul a la Favela. But from that, I do think that it's going to be, not too foreign. Whereas Nighthaven Labs is a completely different map to what we've really seen, although that you can draw parallels to some other maps. So I would definitely love to see that. But despite how much, both of us would love to see it, it does look like Chalet did end up getting picked. So we will be seeing Chalet, which actually, Chalet is one of those maps where I feel like Ram really could shine. And I really think that is where we could see her, just considering how vertical that map tends to be, where every single bomb site is very, very vertical, and you need to hold it down if you're on defense. You need to take control of it and get as much of that floor destroyed as possible if you're on attack. So I mean, this is probably the best opportunity that we're going to have tonight to see Ram, or to even see her get banned, just from the fact that, she's so strong with that vertical play. People don't really know how to counter her yet. She's really strong. She's new. So we might even get to see her banned, although really no way of knowing. But it's definitely going to be an interesting one, and I cannot wait for this one, especially considering the teams that we have playing here. Contrary to the previous match, I do have a little bit of knowledge about these teams, and I do have a little bit of information about them. So I think that this is probably going to be another really, really, really good matchup here between these two teams. And I think that we might even be seeing a little bit of overtime. I didn't say it, but we could. I'm just saying. You're looking at me weird. I don't know. I just have that feeling.
I just saw that I muted. As long as you didn't say it, you didn't jinx it, and I really hope that that is not the case, because as always, we're going at Chile, right? And honestly,
Yeah.
Once we're looking at Chile, everything is possible. Really, it comes down to the operator bans whenever it shifts towards the attack or shifts towards the defense. Like you said, we have two quite strong teams, and if I look back at how they previously performed on Chile, Feuerfrei played Chile 5 times, won 2 times of it, therefore only have a 40% win rate. If I compare that with Blue Jays, they played Chalet 11 times, actually quite significant amount. Typically, it is a map they ban the most, actually, on all of their maps. They have a 45% win rate on 11 plays, meaning both teams are more on that, without being mean, but at least according to the win rate, on that mediocre win rate, right? It's not their highest win rate maps. It's not their lowest win rate maps. It's more of that even Steven playing grounds, which to me, it doesn't really say all too much, because like we said, Chalet can mean everything and at the same time nothing.
Yeah, that's a very, very good point that you make there. But I think precisely because of that, because it's sort of a mid-map for both teams, I think that's exactly why we could end up seeing both teams be matched up so well. Just from their previous records of playing different leagues and playing different matches, I think that is definitely true for them, sort of in general. But I think also specifically because it's such a down the middle map where neither team really has this insane win record. I think that is really what could make it be that sort of back and forth tug of war, and it's what could get us to see, I don't know, a high round count is the way that I will put it. But I think that it will definitely come down to first of all the operator bans and picks. I feel like Chile is one of those maps that is very, very particular when it comes to the operator bans and the operator picks more than any other map, I'd say, where depending on how the ban phase goes, that could change the entire course of the game. Because let's say the Flores and Azami stay on the board, they don't get banned. You have a completely different game than you would if they were banned. More so than on most other maps. So definitely it will come down to that, I feel like, just to see where that will go. And then also if we get to see Ram as well, will completely shift everything that we know about how Chalet gets played out, just because of how different she is. She's so same with what we've already seen in terms of Sledge and Buck doing the same thing, but she's also so different in the way that she does it, to the point where I really, if she does end up being on the board, I really have no idea what to expect and how to translate that into what might happen for the rest of this game.
I mean, once again, we're looking at a map where, like you said, and that we've touched on in the past as well, where Ram can be super influential, right? A lot of verticality, a lot of possibility for vertical gameplay to be brought into play. And honestly, I'm not sure if I should be expecting her or not to be played, just because I think a lot of teams didn't really make up their mind thus far. We are on the first day after the patch day. Some teams actually tend to scrim on test servers, which I actually just want to highlight here for the moment, because it actually gives them an edge, before the season start, to understand which way the meta shifts, which way an operator tends to go, if they should be looking at their sets back again and rethink the way they strategize. But actually, I think RAM allows a lot of things, but doesn't really deny the majority of strats, because you can deal with the gadget, you can deal with the operator itself. You just have to understand that from all the destructive operators, RAM is the operator, I would say, that causes the most chaos, because obviously you have these loud sound cues, you have the destruction happening, you can't really know where the player is positioned right now. If you, for example, look at Sledge or you look at Buck, you know exactly, or at least roughly, where they're positioned in order to do that vertical destruction. With Ram, you don't really have that understanding. She can be already on almost the other side of the map and still trigger her bots to destroy the map vertically. But nonetheless, no more talking. We're diving right into it. Feuerfrei against Blue Jays Talents. I'm really keen to see what these operator bans bring for us.
Yeah, I mean, I've already said how excited I am to see the bans and how much I think that they will alter, the course of this game. So I'm definitely excited to see. And last time we were completely surprised by that Lion ban. So I'm wondering if we're gonna get another completely off kilter ban here as well, or if it'll be completely down the middle. Sort of, I guess Ying is. She's not your typical ban that you would see on Chalet, but she's also not something that never gets banned. And especially on Chalet, she can be very, very useful for pretty much all bomb sites. So it's definitely not a surprise. It's just sort of like, oh, okay, I didn't anticipate that. Maybe I thought that it would be a Flores. Maybe I thought that it would be a Ram. And following it up with another Monty ban, even though it's not the same teams, it's quite interesting to see him get out in both matches. And I'm wondering if he's going to get out on L3, which would be quite interesting.
Well, we, at least for the time being, do see a Valkyrie of the board from the side of Feuerfrei. Does make sense as well. Now, looking back at it, Blue Jays Talents with their last ban for the defensive side will be Azami not played anymore. I was about to say, since Flores was not banned, we definitely need an Azami ban. honestly, the bans are quite round, I would say. I would have liked to see something like a Dokbi maybe off the board, as well, as typically a lot of teams struggle when it comes to information gameplay, but it still does make a lot of sense the way they've banned it. Would you say it's more an attacker or defender favorited ban?
For who? For Azami?
Overall, these 4 operator bans, what would you say?
Oh,
Does it favor more attack or defense?
Oh wow. It's kind of hard to tell because they are sort of down the middle, both ways. Because of course the Ying ban very heavily favors the defense. You know, the attackers would always benefit more from having her on. So the fact that, you know, the defense would rather get rid of her and not really have to worry about her, you know, says something. But then again, on the flip side, Azami is so strong to the point where no one attacking Chalet really wants to deal with her. So I feel like they're really, and maybe I'm wrong. Again, I'm not the analyst here, so I could be wrong. But I think that it's a very down the middle sort of situation for these bands. At least that's the way that I feel. I feel like it's not really favored one way or the other. I feel like there's a little bit of both in there. I guess it just depends on how important you think that the operator would be in general. And in that, I would say for this particular map, I'd say that Azami is a bigger, more important operator than Ying would be. So I guess it's a little bit more favored in the favor of defense, but I don't know how much I believe that. Honestly, I think that it's still pretty down the middle.
Does make a lot of sense. The thing is, looking at the previous results of these teams, especially also playing against each other, Feuerfrei with the Ying ban, they have a 50% pick rate, or the 50% ban rate on Ying. Does make a lot of sense. And then, interestingly enough, Monty is banned in 25% of the times against Feuerfrei. So I really think a little bit of a thought process has been going into this. But on the other side, Blue Jays typically bans Flores and Monty the most. So it also does make quite some sense. I mean, after all, it's still Chalet, right? It's still compared to other maps, at least in the way teams see it, a relatively small map. Well, at least smaller compared to other ones, especially since if you do not count in Fireplace or the main lobby area overall, which is a little bit of a vacuum, it's, you know, a lot of verticality, quite small bomb sites itself, where a lot of teams do not want to face something like, you know, for example, Azami, especially also in the library section, a very strong operator, Monty, operators which either deny a lot or allow a lot. And therefore, we're starting off right now with you and for you guys out there. Feuerfrei against Blue Jays Talents.
Yep. Once again, introducing it and starting it after we had a bit of a Rico situation there, in case you were wondering. But yeah, it's definitely going to be an interesting one, and I'm excited to see how it goes. And right off the bat, they're going down into the basement, which, you know, that bomb site is sort of going, you know, it's a very flip-floppy site where, you know, for a while it was, you know, the most defender-sided bomb site on the entire map. It was one of the most defender-sided bomb sites in the entire game. It was very annoying to deal with. And then, you know, people started to figure out how to defend barn gaming, and then all of a sudden that became the meta, and, you know, basement became completely unplayable. And then now it's sort of started to get back into the swing of things where a lot of teams are like, okay, well, just hold on to wine and have this vertical presence as well, not let them get anything, and then all of a sudden you win the round. So, you know, as I said, it's a flip-floppy site, so I guess it's not necessarily that surprising to see it get played, because it's not like it never gets played, but to see it, you know, get picked right off the bat, I guess is what surprises me there. The fact that they didn't even try to go for anything else first, they're just going here, which I wonder if this is just them being confident enough and knowing that they can take this bomb site, or them thinking, well, if we can take this bomb site, we can take any bomb site, and then we're in the clear for the next couple of rounds, where we can just win it off the back of the meta.
Oh yeah, certainly so. I mean, this is once again really down to the knee, down to whatever team plays. But actually, we do see an opening frag in favor of, well, it is Blue Jays Talents this time, as it also will be the first frag of the entire match. Once again, Blue Jays Talents, I think, has, of course, a very big name when it comes to them succeeding. They if I'm not mistaken, I might be wrong here, so please correct me if I'm wrong. They already played the last season, so they know exactly, obviously, what to count into, what to expect, what to somewhat play around. And Gutter with the at least late refrag onto Gaptooth finds a retaliation there. And obviously, Legion with his change to his gadget and to himself is a little bit of a bummer to lose, but obviously the Gemini Replicator of Iana also being a very strong gadget on the attack side, I would really say it evens out at this point. But what we do have to put into account is that BLUEJAYS Talents definitely got a lot of map control in advantage for themselves.
Definitely a lot of map control, and very quickly as well. I mean, only 90 seconds have gone so far, which on certain maps might be a little bit, you know, a long of a time, but not currently, not right now when you're playing on Chalet. 90 seconds to gain as much map control as they have is definitely very, very good. And now using a lot of this utility to clear out any potential batteries that could be on that wine wall and opening it up now. Now, I mentioned earlier that, you know, teams figured out that the way to hold this bomb site is to have control of wine, and the reason for that is because as soon as you have both of these wine walls open, it makes it pretty much impossible to hold the bomb site from inside of the bomb site itself. You have to hold it from these off angles, whether it's inside of connector or inside of blue. Otherwise, you will get shut down due to how many very long range angles there are for you to hold. And now, 30 seconds still to go. Flash rings are coming in. So much utility is getting deployed, and the plant is being attempted. Siri is deep into the bomb site and is getting that plant off. Gutter will find one. Hexy with the Claymore will find Gutter, who tried to go for a flank. Yablin will find one. Dana now inside of the bomb site is able to bring it back down to 1 versus 1. Ooh, Yablin running away outside. Dana getting hurt by his own fire. Now trying to go for that defuse. Information being given to Yablin that is what's happening. Bit of a ring around the rosy. There goes a flashbang as well. Pistol in hand. He's blind. And Yablin finds that kill. Finds that round. And the round will be going the way of BLUEJAYS Talents off the back of that initial opening pick. But also, more importantly, off the back of them being able to open up those wine walls. I said that it is a very, very important thing for the defense to be able to hold on to those. And I said that as soon as you have those open on attack, it's pretty much over for the defense due to how impossible it is to defend it from that point on. And, well, I really hope that, you know, Firefly learned their lesson about going for rounds like that, because I said that I wonder if they chose that on purpose, knowing that they are confident in winning that, or because they were like, well, it could be a free round and then we're free for the rest of the half, where we can win pretty much anything, just due to the meta of the map. You know, it can work out, but it also can put you at a bit of a back foot, where now you're forced to, you know, really, you know, grind down and get these round wins on the other sides that you might not necessarily be that pressured to win if you had the initial round advantage. But nevertheless, they're going down into the kitchen bomb site, and despite this being one of the bomb sites that is going to be that is going to benefit a lot from Ram, we still do not see her get brought on by BLUEJAYS Talents.
I mean, whoa. Budolf opening frag in favor of Firefly. Well, this exactly turned off exactly how I expected it to go. Hexy with a refrag onto Quaterner. Once again, 1-for-1, but like you said, especially in the last round, what Firefly really needs to work on is not allowing map control too easily to BLUEJAYS Talents. As speaking from the past, speaking from the playstyles we also see right now they're bringing to the table, they have a very good time management. They know exactly how to verticalize on towards sides. Obviously, basement not being the spot where you have vertical gameplay as much as on other sides, for example, as we do see kitchen dining right now. But, and this is quite important, the more you allow them, the more they will be able to capitalize on. And Gutter certainly should be looking at holding down this as long as possible, but it will be tough as now the drones hit him. And speaking about drones, only 2 drones left in play, as Gaptooth is also off the board, effectively not leaving all too much information gathering left for the sort of BLUEJAYS Talents. Only logic bombs are still there, which are being utilized right now. The main breach in the upper floor section is going towards BLUEJAYS as well. Serzer, a lot of damage to himself. Denati also punished quite a fair bit, and now they're waiting there patiently for them to get on in. You look at that. Yeah, one finds the frag onto Gutter. Certainly, once again, map control falling in favor of Blue Jays. Retaliation is there at least a tiny bit in favor of Bodolf, but now he has to get back to side 3v2, a significant lead for Blue Jays talent.
I'm amazed by how much time there's still left on this round. With how much action that has happened, how many people have died, how much utility has been deployed, you would absolutely think that this is, 10 seconds left on the round, but no. There's still another minute left, and Blue Jays talents have more than enough utility to do so much vertical damage. But I'll try to destroy that exothermic charge as it was getting deployed, but it wasn't able to do so. Hexy will be able to find Bodolf as Stairs does go down on those stairs, but they're able to refrag Bodolf, who was the player that downed him. Shuxel now alone. 1 versus 3. Drones coming out. That is the final one that they had. It does get shut down. Shuxel finds one too! Can't find a third! What a beautiful flick there! Unbelievable! I cannot even imagine the kind of clutch that would have been if he was able to get the third, but no. The round will be going the way of Blue Jays talents yet again. Wow. I just, that round was so very hectic from all sides. I'm speechless. Wow. What a round.
Yeah, wow indeed. I mean, once again, individual performance certainly popping off on the side of Feuerfrei. Wow. If that would have happened, I don't know what I would have done, but crazy things would have happened, I can imagine. 2-0 lead for Blue Jays, even though we have to say not quite indicative of what's happened, especially in that last round. Once again, also opening frag in favor of Blue Jays, follow-up frag. Bodolf certainly did massive in favor for himself and his team as he pulled off 2 of them and then was able to get back on towards side. But in that 3v2 situation, obviously it's relatively tough for yourself and your team to still pull it back, especially when it comes to dining, especially when it comes to the verticality of Sledge and the nade still in the pocket. But almost a clutch worthy to be put in the books, but almost, only almost, it's the way around. Now we do see Feuerfrei bringing us towards our end games with a little bit of a mirror setup here and there. Not something you do see a lot of teams do. Like we discussed this on the first map, to shift bomb spot over bomb spot over bomb spot. It's actually the third bomb spot we're seeing right now. I really like their adaptability towards not playing the same thing over and over again, as they know exactly if we pull off the same stuff, it is quite readable towards our opponents. It's quite easy to be interpreted and played against us.
Yeah, and more onto things that are pretty unconventional here for Feuerfrei, the fact that they don't have a player playing in that sort of suicide position, that tight corner inside of Library, but more importantly, I think, is the fact that they don't have a single shield, not for the chimney position, not for top of Library stairs, which is a very default setup. You kind of have the shield there, you know, the Azami is on the board, you will absolutely have those Kiba barriers, but for them to not have any sort of utility there at all as far as shields go, and then for them also to leave that office wall completely soft is also very unconventional. I really cannot name the last time that I saw a play like this, and now they're just in. That was Gaptooth in, found the opening frag, immediately traded out, however, Zeppelin will go down. And once again, they're being very, very aggressive, just pushing straight down onto the bomb site. Gaptooth will be the next one to go down to a C4 from below. 3v4 here for Blue Jays Talents after a very explosive entrance that didn't really lead anywhere too good for them.
Well, they have the slight edge on the defensive side with 1 man up in difference. And obviously, now it's a little bit tougher for the sort of Blue Jays Talents to capitalize on that verticality. They do have the Sledge still playable. They still have the verticality option there, but they're not that safe yet for the time being, as we do see right now. Xaris are actually pressured into the basement section where Bodolf was waiting for him. Katarner finds a frag for himself. Hexy finds 1, but still 3 more to go. Certainly a very tough one. 1 on the clock, 2 more to go. Will he be able to pull this off? Certainly, of course, a tough situation once again, especially with the positioning. Very safe, very patient, but he finds a triple kill right now. Only 1 more to go. The pressure on his shoulders is tremendous, but he certainly is in a good position. But Donati does not let anything else happen outside of that. Once again, individual performance almost comes in clutch.
Unbelievable. That is the second time around, just only, the other way, that we saw an almost clutch of gigantic proportions. I mean, this is something that you really, truly rarely see. And I was talking about the capabilities of both of these teams and their records sort of throughout other leagues and throughout other matches and how strong they have sort of always been. But I did not anticipate to see that coming out, back to back. Beautiful, beautiful rounds coming out, both ways. Very, very good try there from Blue Jays to try and bring that back, but Firefly was just a little too strong there. And now they're going back down into basement, which, remember the last time around, as soon as those wine walls were open, it was as good as over. They were able to bring it down to a 1 versus 1. It was Donati that was in that 1v1. Was not able to win it, unfortunately, as he was blind going up against I do believe it was an AK in the hands of the Nomad, but regardless of which gun it was blind, and he was in a 1v1 post-plant. So hopefully they've learned their lesson about how to defend that bomb site and maybe not allow Blue Jays Talents as much map control as they had. Because, of course, if you remember, they got the opening frag pretty much immediately, which gave them the entire map to themselves. So hopefully this time, Firefly are going to be able to hold on to it for a little bit longer and not allow Blue Jays Talents to just completely dominate them the way that they did before.
Well, dominance is certainly, I think, a little bit of a key word thus far, as the first 2 rounds once again went almost entirely in favor of Blue Jays Talents, and breaking with that dominance, breaking with that flow, with that momentum for the sort of Firefly is certainly very important, especially if you play against dominant teams. What you don't want to allow them is getting more and more confident. Bodolf, potential there to get a run on working, but actually decides against that. Once again, prioritizing safety over aggressiveness is really what I think makes up the minds of the players of Firefly, especially when you look at Katurner right now, still up and living, still able to spread the goo mines. Now, we do need to put into consideration that the goo mines are not invisible anymore. They do more damage, and he has 1 more than prior patches, but they're not invisible anymore, meaning that it's somewhat of a buff, somewhat of a nerf. But at least for the time being, it comes more into the perspective of being an actual trap operator. Verticality right now introduced from the sort of Firefly. A lot of pressure, a lot of damage dealt both ways. Serzer, as well as Gutter and Donati, lost a lot of HP in the act.
Yep, 90 seconds have already gone, and wow, so much damage was done both ways, but in the end, it was Gap 2 to find the opening frag there onto Gutter. The Oryx is down, no more flank capabilities coming out from that particular operator. Of course, he's known for that flank capabilities, but not anymore. Shuxel still trying to hold on to it, as is Quarter, and I do believe that Donati was there as well, still trying to hold on to that vertical control as much as possible. Yablon wasting pretty much his entire mag here trying to shoot that Vulcan canister, of course, as the sooner that it is dealt with, the better, and Donati getting a little bit too aggressive there, does get shut down, but Quarterner is there immediately to find the refrag, shooting a couple of drones on his way as well to make sure that they have as little information as possible. 3v4 here for Firefly, and there goes the wall gets opened up inside of Wine as well. Shuxel still trying to re-aggress, but he gets shut down as well. Bodolf taking a lot of damage from that vertical angle. There goes Quarterner on the flank. He's able to find one, but Siri once again is deep in, finds the position to get for the plant, and unfortunately Bodolf just whiffing so much is unable to find that kill, gets shut down, and that's all down to Quarterner. 1v3, frag grenade coming straight at his face. He has to pull away, wasting quite a little bit of his time there. Of course, he doesn't have too much to begin with. He knows where one player is, can't quite hit the shots there onto Diana, and it's Siri from the back of Boiler to find the final frag, win the round for Blue Jays Talents, and they take the lead, or they extend the lead, rather, over Firefly now as we head off into round 5. Firefly with only 1 round to their name.
Blue Jays Talents certainly knows exactly how to leverage the attacker's strengths in their own favor. Verticality, long line of sights, the damage over range with the attacker guns, utility, you name it. Well, so many things in their own favor. I mean, we have to put credit once again where credit is due. To come into the position, to get into the flank, certainly was one of the best attempts Feuerfrei could have pulled off in order to pull this back. Though, you know, once they're on side, once they actually locked you out of sight, got you into that post-plant position where the timer ticks against you as a defender, obviously things are upside down. You have to make the move. You have to get back to side, meaning they beautifully countered that situation as well. Obviously, right now, we have a 2-point lead for the side of Blue Jays Talent. Still more than enough time for Feuerfrei to pull it back. But as always, at least for the time being, it gives me a little bit of an understanding of what Blue Jays Talent brings to the table, as well as what Feuerfrei brings to the table. And I really think map control is crucial in this matchup, as Blue Jays Talent certainly tries to go for map control as quick as possible and leverage that as much as possible, meaning denying that, I really think, is a crucial point in denying the actual way Blue Jays Talent wants to play, as well as the way they are effective and successful. Odolf in the position where he could be rewarded with a frag, but he will fall in favor of Gaptooth, beautifully finding the head opening frag once again in favor of Blue Jays Talents.
Beautiful opener there, and Gutter will be the next one to go down as well. Gaptooth still on a roll. That entry frag position definitely going very, very well for him. And now 3v5 so very early on here. Feuerfrei still trying to hold on to anything at all. Not to being under pressure, as well as those logic bombs get deployed. Find quite a lot of information here onto the remaining defenders. And as Blue Jays Talents continue to aggress all over that upper floor, Feuerfrei are in a worse and worse position. Shucks will have to run all the way around. Not really safe anywhere anymore, and still so many angles for him to cover off. There goes a grenade. It will find Donati. Quartz are having to retake onto Piano now, as they've lost the player that was previously holding onto it. Shuxel trying to hold off onto the back of the bomb site. And as that wall will certainly be getting opened up, the final 90 seconds of this round will begin. And Feuerfrei in a 2v5 will have to pull off a miracle to keep this round alive. Drones are coming out. Quartern are not really sure where to shoot or when to shoot. The plan is being attempted. Shuxel will get shut down from the office balcony door. And it's Yablon from the Piano double door to find the final frag. The round once again going Blue Jays Talents way, and now as we find ourselves in the final round of this half, Blue Jays Talents are looking at a potential 5-1 split.
Wow, 5-1 would certainly be an impressive result, to say the least. But obviously, still Feuerfrei is in the chance to pull it to a 4-2 round swap. For the time being, I really think that Blue Jays Talents fans can be super happy about the outcome of the rounds thus far. Obviously, a flawless round in that last round also once again goes to show how well they are able to get these opening frags under their own belt, get the map control, get the side control in their own hands, and honestly it's remarkable to see them not being punished for that, not actually anyone being able to deal with that. I really think that Feuerfrei needs to make creative adaptations towards their threats in order to slow down, to hinder Blue Jays Talents from getting map control all too easy. Something you could be looking at is, of course, trap meta, which we do see with, for example, the Frost deployed right now. But actually something I would love to see and see how it turns out would be something like a Clash. Obviously, you know, the fan base of Clash is quite limited, as a lot of people think it's a very one-sided, maybe even toxic operator to bring to the table. But what Clash certainly does, as well as Monty, is slowing down people, giving intel to your teammates, as well as obviously with the shocker. It really slows down the attackers. It really makes them wonder, okay, how can we deal with the situation? And this is certainly something I really think that Feuerfrei needs right now. They need to deal early with the presence of the players from Blue Jays Talents rather than late.
Yeah, I mean, couldn't agree with you more there. They definitely need to get a little bit quicker with this issue that keeps happening, but they also need to be a little bit better at preserving that time and being a little bit better with the time management, because Blue Jays Talents tend to have that man advantage so very early on, within the first minute or so of the round. So just preserving that time a little bit better and not allowing them to have as much of that cake as early on definitely could be very useful. And so far so good, as it is probably one of the only times so far this matchup that we've seen the first minute go without significant damage being done to Feuerfrei. And well, Hexy will shut me up as he takes down Quarterner. And now, not only have they lost a player, but they've also lost the Warden, who, of course, could have been crucial against some of these smokes. And BLUEJAYS will find another one onto Gutter as well. And once again, FoyerFry find themselves in a significant man disadvantage. Make that now just a 1v4 with still 90 seconds to go. BLUEJAYS silence. There goes the grenades. There goes the drop from the balcony as well. But as he sprints away, he's not able to find a final kill. It's instead the Sledge to find the final one. And BLUEJAYS Talons do indeed find themselves at a 5-1 split on the half. Are looking at a potential 7-1 closeout here, as they're only 2 rounds away from doing so. And, well, it's not that we've never seen a 1-5 comeback coming out, especially on Chalet. It's just that it's a rare sighting. And with how dominant BLUEJAYS have been so far, I don't know that I necessarily have the faith in FoyerFry to be able to pull it off. But, of course, it's only round 7. It's only the first round of the second half. FoyerFry are on a different side. Chalet does sort of overall in our Season1 tend to be just a little bit more attacker-sided, so it could just be one of those days where it really is significantly attacker-sided. But it will definitely require quite a lot of work here from FoyerFry if they want to be able to take this back and try and do something with this match.
Certainly so, and obviously with that round swap now coming into play, we do have FoyerFry on attack as well as BLUEJAYS Talons on defense. And, you know, talking about statistics, talking about typical results, typically you do say that Chalet is slightly in a more attacker-favored map, though it really comes down to the operator bans. We've discussed this already. And I really would like to touch on one thing, which is key, even though Siri could be looking at an opening frag here relatively soon, actually. More patience will be brought up towards him. We do see now 3 drones off the board, right? Within a droning phase, how many drones would you say are you allowed to lose that doesn't count as a lost prep phase? What would you say?
I don't know. Once again, you pose a question, I say I don't know, and while I was trying to figure out the answer, Yablin will find the opening frag onto Donati, and once again, BLUEJAYS Talons find themselves with that early man advantage. Quarterner trying to retake a little bit of these positions down below as Buttle finds one with the frag grenade. Serial will be the next one go down. Refrags going out every which way, and in the end, it's FoyerFry that end up victorious, at least for the time being. Still so much time left for them to try and get this execute down. Yablon seeing there the outline of Shuxel, but was not expecting it and was not able to find the frag, but it's a frag grenade from below and then some to take down Yablon. Of course, he will be able to get retrieved here by Zazier, but how much is that really going to mean as they have so many players, so many guns staring them down? Shuxel now droning out this bomb site. Meanwhile, Budov was trying to push up from below. Minute 10 still to go, 2v3, although Yablon is working with quite low HP here as they're creeping up these walls. Zazier is able to find one with the Budov. He's able to find one with the Shuxel as well, and it's unbelievably Yablon to find Gutter on the stairs. BLUEJAYS Talons against all odds are able to find this round, find themselves here on map point so very early on, and FoyerFry might have missed their best chance at slowing down the momentum for BLUEJAYS Talons. And speaking of momentum, this is where I worry about them not having taken a timeout yet. I feel like at this point it definitely should have come already, and well, this could be their last chance to take one. I mean, timeouts are very, very important in competitive R6 due to so many reasons, but one of the main reasons is regardless of what you talk about as the team that took the timeout, regardless of what you talk about during the timeout, whether it's, trying to pull yourself back, from the reins mentally, or trying to fix an issue, or trying to strategize a little bit more, all of that doesn't really matter as much as slowing down the pace, as much as taking your opponents from the momentum fire jog they're on currently and slowing it down, telling them, hey, chill, calm down a little bit. Taking those 40 seconds or 60 seconds for them to not really be completely on fire anymore could be very, very crucial to you. So that is one of the reasons why timeouts can be so very, very crucial, and I'm surprised that they haven't taken one yet so far. If not for any other reason, then at least to slow it down a little bit.
Absolutely. I mean, it couldn't be a better timing than now to pull off your own comeback, to, pull something out of that magician's head in order to stop Blue Jays Talents from winning these rounds, round after round. It is certainly going to be tough, but we also do see that more Goblin playstyle, that more aggressive playstyle right now as well, popping off from the sort of Blue Jays Talents with the run out of Solus, with potentially more runouts to come. Gaptooth should be careful there, and we also do see not only the nade, but also so much more utility other than that, with an impact, a smoke arrow flying in towards the section of the library right now. Once again, a good approach for the attack in order to deal with that presence in library, but for the time being, it actually only helped them get rid of one of the players. There's still more to come in that upper floor section. Paterna currently patiently waiting. The first drones also hit spot, so they should have an understanding of how many people are actually playing on site and how many people are not playing on site, which should enable them to get a better understanding. Should they go for a direct approach? Should they not go for a direct approach? And Gutter now in a little bit of a tricky position, as obviously not only his side has been blocked, but also they were able to tell exactly where he is positioned. Yaplan, a little bit of damage, but just before that, he was able to find an opening in his own favor. Upside down repel, and look at that! He's trying to fight back, and yes, he gets the shot done! And dusted Budolf. Retaliation on towards Hexy, but only a small drop in towards this big barrel. Still more, so much more to come.
What a shot. What a shot there under the upside down repel player. He's able to find that one. Budolf is able to find one at the Yebel, and finally a refrag onto that player who so far has been very, very crucial to the success of Blue Jays Talents. I mean, he's working with 13 kills to his own name, the most of anybody in the lobby. Definitely a very, very important player for the side of Blue Jays Talents, and with him gone, they might be looking at a bit of a more comfortable position here for Fry, but of course still so much work for them to do. There go the smoke bolts and the fire bolts. Shoxel is able to find one. There's there. 3v2 now. Fry have the slight man advantage. Gaptooth hiding inside a fireplace, could be finding here the frag onto Budolf if he's not careful, but he won't! Budolf has the information, finds the swing, finds the beautiful kill, but Siri now in the back of Bar Stock is able to find one, finds the second one!
15 seconds remaining.
10 seconds to go here. Budolf does not have the diffuser in hand, has to go for the kill, and it's Siri to win it. It's Blue Jays to win it. It's Blue Jays to take the round, to take the map at a 7-1 fashion. Unbelievable. Yaban being crowned the MVP by the game, I would have to agree. Unbelievable job there coming out from the side of Blue Jays Talents. I'm impressed, to say the least.
I mean, I'm more than impressed with the performance which we've seen from the sort of Blue Jays Talents brought to the table. Certainly stunning in all ways. Individual performance, refrag, opening frag, map control, objective-based gameplay. That is beautiful, which we've just seen. And I have to say, with such a map to open up, obviously, the season, 7-1 is a shower. It really goes to show that they are potentially trying to march on further and further against all of the opponents. Obviously, I have to say that the result of the match is a bit tainted because of the way that Feuerfrei played. Like I said, they knew exactly how to play around their strengths, but playing around the weaknesses of your opponent should be something they should be looking at in the future. And map control and getting map control is certainly a part which all of the strats of Blue Jays are worried about. Try to play more into that. Try to make that work as much as possible. And then you should be able to fight more rounds in your own favor. Other than that, I mean, so many rounds were so down to the nail. And if not, that individual performance would have come from the sort of Blue Jays Talents. It would have felt in favor of Feuerfrei. Seriously, stunning performance from Blue Jays Talents. And I'm not sure if you have anything to add, but I'm just impressed.
I really don't have anything to add other than just wows all around from the side of Blue Jays talent. So many of those rounds, as you said, came down to the wire where it really should have gone the other way. It really should have been a Firefly win, but it ended up being a Blue Jays talents win down to the, the sheer grit and determination that they were just not going to let it slip. And there's really, it's nothing short of plain impressive that. And I really loved seeing that. And I hope that Firefly are able to fix, as you said, some of the issues that they've had, mainly, what you said about map control, but also time management, just being a little bit better at holding on to their advantage for a little bit longer. Because I said it already, so many of those rounds were won by Blue Jays talents within like the first minute, just from the fact that they had such a significant deep man advantage early on. Which just goes to show how strong of a team Blue Jays really are. The fact that they were able to take that early advantage that strongly, and we're just not letting go of it. So, I mean, you've said it, I've said it. Very, very impressive performance there from Blue Jays, and I can't wait to see what they are able to do throughout the rest of this league once we actually get into the majors and the minors. But without any more rambling, as we've been rambling quite a bit so far, we'll be taking a short break, and once we come back, it will be game 3 of tonight, which will be KT versus Moo and the Rats. So definitely stay tuned for that one. We'll be back. Hello, everyone, and welcome back to Vibrant League. My name is Retro, and I'm joined here by Silver. We are back here for the third and final match of the evening. It is KT versus Moo and the Rats, following quite interesting matchups from Team Alpha and Calories, and then Flare Fire and Blue Jays Talents. And, well, we're back to me not really having too much information about these teams. I've heard of Moo and the Rats. I've watched some of their games, so I know a little bit about them. But I'm going pretty blindly into KT. So I don't know. Tell me a little bit about them, Silver. What can we really expect here from these teams? What kind of gameplay do you expect to see?
Once again, it's one of the teams coming from the UK region, slash the Rumble region, if you want to call it like that. Also, one of the teams who've made it quite far in the Central Combine, with players like Croxon, J-Lo, Swaz, forming Actor, of course, on top of that. Forming players from X-Team 86, combined with, like I said, other players. A phenomenal roster, seriously, quite a lot of strengths. Also, I have to say, some quite indicative weaknesses, but I will come to that in a second. When I look to the past, it's actually quite crazy to see that they've played Villa 4 times with 100% win rate, Oregon 2 times with 100% win rate, Chalet with 75% win rate on 4 times they've played it, 1 time they've lost it. One of the, I would say, most interesting map pools, because that was the good amount of maps they played. On the flip side, typically maps they ban the most is Cafe as well as Theme Park. Well, Theme Park obviously not being a problem for them anymore, as well as Bank, with Bank also being played 2 times, 0% win rate. Skyscraper played 3 times, only 1 time, 1. So, relatively, on some maps they have phenomenal stats, which I've also went to see and went to mark it down in my book. But on some other maps, apparently, and I've not seen them play these maps, they don't really pop when it comes to stats. So I'm really keen to see what map which we're going to see. On the flip side, we do have Moo and the Rats, which is a little bit of a project, I'd like to call it, with former players from Heroic, as well as also Lear coming in from the side of previously known as Koi, as well as Pooh forming the name with Moo and the Rats. A very interesting team, a team consisting of T1 players. This has to be a very interesting match, I have to say.
I would have to agree with you. And you mentioned it's going to get interesting depending on what map we're on. And well, it's a map that we spoke a great lengths about just a couple hours ago, and it looks like it will be Oregon. So it's back down to the basics. It's the default map. It's one that everybody knows how to defend. It's one that everybody knows how to attack. And you mentioned how this is made up of some of the players from Heroic. So T1 players playing such a default map, really, I feel like that's going to make it that much more interesting. I feel like if we saw like a more off-kilter map like Skyscraper, for example, or even the new ones of Consulate and Night Haven, although I sincerely doubt that we would. But if we had seen a map like that where different strategies really come into play a lot more, I think that we could potentially be seeing a complete flood coming out from Moo and the Rats, where KT might not even really have a way to go about it. But with the fact that it is Oregon, which we've already spoken about, how it's a very basic map. If you have the fundamentals of Siege in general down, you should be pretty fine on Oregon. And that's what kind of gives me confidence about KT and their performance. And then potentially being able to put up a really, really strong fight here against these players, despite them being, several tiers ahead of the curve in terms of our 6 esports.
I mean, yeah, certainly so. Seriously, I really think that the outcome of the match still cannot be predicted, because we have KT, a very strong tier 2, tier 3 team, playing against Heroic, out there, potentially one of the best teams out there, arguably. A lot of teams know the players quite well, know their play style quite well, and I really think that this might be something which can be relatively easy. Now, it is the first playday, we have to say, so I'm not expecting the teams to really go in-depth into their opponents to really try and find out the weak spots. Though, if you know how Heroic plays, you know that they do have weaknesses. Obviously, it's still a really strong team. I don't want to diminish them or anything, but they do have weaknesses. And if KT knows how to pick up on these weaknesses, it could go in their direction. On top of that, typically when tier 1 teams join tier 2, tier 3 teams, they play more held back, especially in the beginning when they don't really play for, let's say, a big amount of prize money. They tend to play it more relaxed. I really think that this is a good starting point for KT, once again, to just start introducing themselves as a more aggressive, more unconventional playstyle team, which I would say really goes in their favor.
I actually would agree with that, actually. So I think no matter what we do, actually, or no matter what we say, I think that we're both right in thinking that this is probably going to be a very, very interesting match. And, I think some people might be looking at this and think, oh, this is going to be an absolute flood or it's going to be complete domination. And I just don't think that that is going to be the case in either direction. I think that this could really be a very, very interesting tug of war. I don't know if we're necessarily going to be going super deep in terms of potential overtime, although, never say never. And I didn't say it, but, I think that it definitely could go, I don't think that it's going to be a 7-0, 7-1 for either of these teams. That is for sure. But it could get quite interesting. And I'm very excited to see where it goes and how we end up with this one. I don't think that we're really going to be even getting a chance to see Ram. I think maybe, as you said, Moonderest playing it a little bit more casual could, result in us seeing her, but I just don't think that she is necessarily really going to shine on this map. I think that there was definitely quite a lot of potential to see her on Cafe and likewise on Chalet in the previous 2 games, but I feel like on Oregon, less so, because Oregon is a very vertical map, but the other way around. It is very vertical from below rather than from above, which is where Ram really, becomes really, really important. So I don't think that we're really going to be seeing Ram, which just makes me think about what other operators we will be seeing or we might even be seeing get banned. I think that, especially considering the fact that we have T1 players here, I think that there's a very, very strong chance that we're going to be seeing Ying either banned outright or get to see her played pretty much every single round, considering how strong she can be on Oregon, especially if we're talking about basement, where she is nearly essential for every single basement attack.
Absolutely. And I've just been assured that it seems like we are seeing Mr. Officer stepping up to the table, stepping up his own gameplay, as today he will be one of the players actually coming in, not as per default he would be or is the main coach of Heroic, but actually apparently it seems like he today will be playing. And this is really interesting to me. Actually, an interesting fun fact, whenever coaches step in, the win rate tends to go higher than before because obviously they know the players quite in depth. They know exactly how to position their players. And honestly, not only from a skill level, from his intelligence, from the way he knows the players, he is such a power pack of whatever you want to call it, of energy, of knowledge coming into the roster today. I really think this is going to be very interesting.
Yeah, I could not agree more. I think that it really, no matter how you spin it, it really is going to be interesting. But I did not realize that their coach is also playing, which definitely could spin this completely on its head and create a completely new and different matchup. I mean, I'm just so excited to see this match played out. And, we did touch a little bit about, them maybe playing it a little bit of casual. I don't want them to play it casual. I'm saying it. I don't want them to be like, oh, we're just gonna have fun. We're gonna mess around. I know that they probably will, to a degree, play it that way, just because it's not like a serious thing. It's not, their livelihood doesn't depend on this league, unfortunately. Well, not unfortunately, but you know what I mean. Like, it's not this isn't, their bread and butter. But I still hope that they're gonna be, very, that they're going to give it an actual effort. And I hope that that's going to be evident. And it's not going to be like, oh, well, they're just playing, rook shoddy and they're playing, pistols and whatever. I really hope that we're going to get to see an actual effort from both of these teams, really, because I could see both of these teams, doing a complete, silliness route and just going for that sort of goofy play style. And I hope that, in moderation. If we have to see it, hopefully we see it in moderation, but not, a complete blowout where it's just them, messing around. there's a time and place for that, and I really wish that we see a bit of an interesting game here coming up from these teams, even though they're perfectly both perfectly capable of winning games, even playing rook shoddy and pistols and all that kind of stuff. But we should be getting close here to getting these players in the lobby and starting this game. So I guess the only thing really left to do is go for, a final prediction. We've already spoken about, what we think might be, what we think, but like, what is if you had to bet it right now, where does your coin land? Is it Moon the Rats or is it KT?
Well, it has to be Moon and the Rats. I mean, especially looking at the history of, I have to name the elephant in the room, right?
Yeah.
If I look at all the players, it is heroic. It is the roster of heroic. Obviously, in somewhat of a variation, especially also since Mr. Officer is playing. I have to say it, especially with them announcing to leave Siege after EL Stage 2. I know KT so well. I know they have super good gunners. They have such good team play, but it is still heroic. I have to go with Moo and the Rats. Honestly, I really think that, especially with the coach stepping up to the game, yes, we could expect, more of that held back play style. But if your coach, that one person who knows exactly how you all have to behave and how you all will behave once he's there, plays, I really think that this definitely changes the tone of what we can expect. Obviously, on the flip side, when the coach plays, it's not that main gunner, not that person of the main roster. So there might be some weak spots, some areas not really covered, some drone spots not really actually fully drawn to that full extent. So this is something where KT can definitely pick up upon, but I would still give the credit right now, at least from my prediction, to Moo and the Rats.
I would have to agree with that. I feel like, it might seem a little bit, mean and biased against KT to just be like, oh, well, it's going to be Moo and the Rats, going to be Moo. But, like, there is a certain very big difference. Not to deny the success of KT. They've been very, very good so far, and they've had quite a lot of success throughout everything that they've competed in. But, it's heroic. They're a T1 team. You really cannot. Put any other T1 team there, and I'm gonna be putting my vote onto them just because they are a T1 team. They are the top echelon of R6 esports. You really cannot, go up against that. Not to say that they've never lost a game and that they can't lose a game, but it's gonna be a lot of work to actually get yourself in there. And I could be getting completely taken by surprise and KT just completely take it, which props to them if they are able to do that. But yeah, as far as my vote goes, it will go to Moo and the Rats for now. But I'm still very excited to see how this goes, and I have quite a lot of faith actually in KT, if not to win it, to at least take a good 4 or 5 rounds. I think that they are definitely capable of doing that. So it's definitely going to be very interesting seeing that, and I cannot wait for this match to start. I'm sure that everybody else agrees that they would also like for this game to begin as soon as possible. Still just waiting for a couple of players to still make it into the lobby, and then we will be on our way. I sort of covered everything. I'm not really sure what else to talk about. I guess prediction
I have one more point.
okay.
Actually, might also change the prediction once again. We do see Oregon, right? And specifically Oregon, like you've discussed, it is a map where a little bit of that default playstyle comes in quite handy. Now, even though that default playstyle can be quite handy, people stepping up their game, even though they might know your strategies, they might know your playstyle, things can get interesting. Talking about it, we do have one addition which I didn't expect from the side of KT, which actually is Mats from M&M Academy coming in today, which also spices things up just a tiny bit more, just a notch more. Because, like I said, typically, to onboard players, it can be relatively tough, especially if you have to do so on the fly. Meaning, once again, might shift things a tiny bit more into the direction of Moo and the Reds, even though, once again, saying it out loud, we have Mr. Officer play. Mr. Officer being fully known for his knowledge, for his dedication, for his ability to fully and in-depth communicate and handle players and their behavior. But obviously, as he is known as a coach, he already played, but he didn't really shine with his stats overall. He did what he was supposed to do. He managed the players. He managed the strategies. And I really think that this, I know I said it 2 or 3 times already, but this will be such an interesting match to watch.
Yeah, I mean, we keep repeating ourselves, but it's because it's so very true. Is a lot of these matches, sometimes you say like, "Oh, it'll be interesting," but you know deep inside your heart that it probably won't be. That it might be, a closeout one way or another. But this, that is just not the case. It is definitely going to be one to watch, and I feel like if you have not seen the previous 2 matches and you're coming down for this one, I think that you're definitely going to be in for a pretty good ride here with these 2 teams and with this matchup. I have to agree with you that Mats being here might shift the perspective a little bit for KT and them having maybe being pulled a little bit too thin, where they have so many players from different places, and depending on how much time they've had to scrim with them could really alter the sort of atmosphere that they're in, because of course when the Rats, they're the heroic roster, so they've had plenty of time with each other to get to know each other, to know exactly how they breathe, how they move, and that is so crucial to just being able to play Siege well. And so that could be a bit of a could be swaying things a little bit farther away from KT, but regardless of that, I don't think that it's going to be that much of a difference. I don't think that it's going to make, be that much of a detriment to them. And I think that it no matter how we spin it, I'll say it for what is probably the 6th or 7th time. I think somebody should probably keep a counter. That, it's going to be interesting as ever.
I mean, I just want to put what I think has to be put in here as well. KT is still a very dominant tier 1, tier 2, tier 3 team, right? They have managed to pull off a phenomenal run, qualifying for Phase 4 of Central Combine, qualifying for the playoffs themselves, and then fell short 2-1 overall in map score towards Team Alpha. So still, they have a lot of qualities. I'm really keen to see what they will be able to pull off. And there we go, KT against Moo and the Reds. Let's get it started.
Let's get it started. Let's please get it started. It's been a long wait. We've all been on the edge of our seats, and finally we get into it. And the first ban on the board, it is Ying. Did I call it or did I not? I said that will probably be the one operator that will be very, very crucial to this entire matchup. Whether she is banned or whether she is played, she will be the sort of telltale sign. And as I say that, Ash is off the board by Moo and the Rats, and that is a ban that I couldn't have predicted to you. Probably if I had been predicting all day. I mean, thoughts, Silver, Ash ban?
Honestly, yeah, I think they might have a good time. They might also just try to throw off their opponent a tiny bit. But, well, I mean, we also see it in chat. They are still having a good time. They're still nice to each other. A little bit of banter, obviously, is still in the way. But honestly, they know each other. They've scrimped each other. I really think that, with messing around with the bans a bit, it just goes to show how well they know each other, especially when you look at Ash, obviously one of the most comfortable picks for most of the Siege players out there. Well, there you go. Not playable anymore, obviously, with all the other bans. A lot of intel, I would say, off the board for the defensive side, which makes a defender-sided map a tiny bit less defender-sided. Obviously, on the flip side, we still have Mira, we still have Azami, we still have Kaid left in play, meaning hatches, save spots will be able to be generated out of thin air for the defensive side, even though, at least on that first defensive run, we do not see Azami in play.
Yeah, that will definitely be very interesting to see how it goes, and I really, really hope that Leader sticks to Ram and that we get to actually see her, because, of course, with Takaripic, he still has 30 seconds to change his mind and go to something else, but I really am hoping that he won't. And well, interesting. Okay, interesting on the side of KT is the fact that, of course, a little while ago, an entire season ago now at this point, Smoke just lost the shield. So a lot of teams were looking for ways to get around that and, bring a different operator that maybe brings a shield. A lot of the times that was maybe Tachanka, because he provides, of course, that area denial as well as the shield, and then similar, loadout as far as weapons go. And a lot of the times it does actually end up being Warden with the shield, but I find it very interesting that they brought the Smoke, of course, without the shield because he doesn't have it anymore. But then they also brought the Warden, also without the shield. Of course, the C4, not to, deny its potential, but the fact that they already have 2 C4s on their side and then they're choosing to not bring the shield, very, very peculiar to me. Not necessarily a bad choice, but wow. Initial opening pick there from Joom is able to find that opening pick, immediately refrag, however. And, well, the man advantage is in no one's hands at this time. However, Moo and the Rats are swiftly taking control of quite a large portion of this map, and that really could be the deciding factor for how this round ends up playing out.
I mean, hatches are still a factor, but obviously with Joom playing that Maverick, it shouldn't really be that big of a deal for them to be dealt with in the first place. Obviously, it's a little bit of time, which goes into nothing as you need to deal with the hatches, but at least you will get them open eventually, which is a massive thing for the defense right now, since you can leverage pressure on towards that relatively easy once you have the hatches open. Nades, flashes, utility, you name it, everything can go down the hatch in towards side, especially in the kill box. You tend to find a lot of utility stacked for the defensive side, and if you get a nade down in there, a lot of control is already off the board. Even though we did not see any utility, the first nades actually fell in there as well. Now potential is there for Swaz to go for a little bit more of an aggressive move, but of course the drone just spotted him and just made him pull back as quick as possible. Obviously right now we still have a very wide hold. Potential is still there for the side of Moo and the Rats to pull off, to put on pressure from many different sides. Freezer, big tower, blue, main stairs, so many different angles on enough sides possible. Look at that nade, officer! Beautiful cook there in order to deal with Swaz.
Yeah, beautiful, beautiful grenade there to take him down, and now man advantage definitely in the hands of Moo and the Rats, however, immediately eliminated as Actor is able to find a kill there onto Anarchic, and now C4 prepped and could be potentially finding a victim as Blast pushes down from the freezer. Could be looking for a potential flank, and he finds it, finds one, finds the second. There's only one defender remaining. It's Eco. Plant will be attempted. He's alone inside of the closet. Can't quite do it. They have the cross set up, and they find the kill. They find the round. And it's Moo and the Rats to find the first round.
My, oh my, what a good start in order to pull off a first round. Opening frag in your own favor. That nade down the hatch. Collapse on site. Good setup. I mean, Moo and the Rats certainly had a very good round in order to pull off this potential, good attack, because we still have to put our finger into the wound. It is still a defender-sided map, right? I said it. That Valkyrie and Solace off the board certainly make it a bit more easy for the attack to deal with. You don't really have that massive information advantage on the defensive side, though something to really still keep in mind is that it's still a map, especially in the basement section where you can turtle, where you can play more safely. It's still a map which favors the defense. And if you already saw how successful they were able to pull off that first attack, how confident and how dominant they were able to pull off that first attack. Once again, it doesn't have to say anything, but it gives me a little bit of a taste on what to expect. And certainly, especially if you see tier 1 teams, getting that first taste, it can be quite indicative of what else will be happening.
I definitely agree with that. But although, to be fair, they're bringing a pretty different lineup to their attack, which could alter some things, although it doesn't necessarily have to mean that. It's just that I'm mainly focusing on the floors, the fact that they brought him around and they're going to be using that to clear a little bit more of this utility. Wow. That's not the default cam being left up. Definitely not something that you expect T1 players to be doing, but of course, they dealt with it quickly enough, so we're not going to gripe on them for too long about that. But Blast already at the bottom of these freezer stairs. Of course, we saw him go for a bit of a late push through freezer in the previous round. He was able to find 2 kills off the back of that. Could be looking for a potential opening here for his team just now. We're still just waiting down there, at least keeping the pressure inside of freezer. Meanwhile, the rest of his team is trying to work elsewhere, get those hatches under control, and make themselves another entry point into the bomb site.
I mean, the util right now, of course, it's relatively strong for the defensive side. Croxon finds the opening frag onto Joom. not able to play around that, for the time being, at least not able to play around that freezer section anymore. And Blaz finds the retaliation. Actually pushes into freezer deep, but also falls in retaliation on towards Swaz. At the same time, people are already on side, shotgun in hand. Eco finds the first one for himself. More people to fall this time around. It will be leader retaliation once again in favor of Swaz. Anarchic, last man standing, will be pre-fired by Swaz. And Swaz certainly makes the MPX work for its money.
Wow, what a beautiful round there. KT definitely showing that they're not just gonna let this slide, and they're not gonna let Moonrats completely run them over. They learned their lesson brilliantly. Crocson being very aggressive this time. Last time around, he was a little bit passive on those backside stairs and wasn't really pushing in as far. He did try to, but then he had to pull back because he got droned out. This time, he got in there, he got that opening frag, and then they were able to keep themselves in it for the entire remainder of the round. They did not let that man advantage slip away. Sometimes you will see that happen to teams where they will have that man advantage, but then they will let it slip away from them. The other team will be able to pick up the scraps, will be able to pick up those refrags, and immediately all of your success is nullified. But KT did not let that happen. They kept themselves in it, they kept themselves on top, and Moon the Rats just had no chance. And now, tagging the top floor could be quite an interesting situation, especially considering the lineup that they are bringing. I wonder where that Amaru is going to go through. Will that be a kid's window attack through, or will that be a kid's hatch attack through, or will that be attic? I want to know where the Amaru will go through, or maybe even into armory. That is also a potential push. Although considering Anarchic's current positioning, I do believe that it will be an attic or tower side push with the Amaru. So probably won't be seeing anything as far as Amaru through the hatch and trying to do some heroic plays. No pun intended.
Well, the thing is, I just want to explain this briefly once again. We are playing on the first day after the patch, and especially the shotguns have been reworked a significant bit, meaning that they will be some shotgun actions which we potentially do not expect. Officer, the first one to fall this time around, it will be once again Swaz opening up the round for KT. And like I said, the shotguns, especially the mid to long range, can do their magic right now, so don't really think anything too wrong about it. Blast finds Croxon as he just walked into his crossfire there. Obviously, he took a little bit of damage in the act of finding that frag in his own favor, but once again, Swaz now off as he's kind of like isolated offsite, and they could be looking at finding him relatively soon. Speaking about it, Anarchic with the shotgun finds the one for himself. 4v3 lead, a slight advantage for the set of Moon and the Reds, and looking at the time, still more to go.
Yeah, more than enough for them still left. Over just about 90 seconds them are still to go. Still have quite a bit of utility left in their pocket. That shotgun, as you said, is waiting down below this hatch, so Actor, if he tries to move anywhere, will probably be going down to that. And of course, those Grim Bees are still in play and could be given away for quite a few of these positions, especially as we see these flashbangs now going on inside of kids. And unfortunately, the attempt of going up the hatch with the Amaru Gar hook does not end up going Moonrat's way the way that they wanted it to, and now Anarchic has left the diffuser defenseless inside of the bomb site, defended by the defenders. Blast now 1v2, can't quite find the shots there onto Eco, can't quite find the shots there onto Mats either, being slowed down by the Banshee. Pistol in hand, can't quite do anything. It's Eco to find the final kill, and the round will go KT's way after it almost didn't look like it was gonna go their way. The heroic had, or my apologies, Moon the Rats had man advantage there for a little while, but that was really the wrong play, the wrong choice. Not really anticipating that the player inside of Kids, who was Actor on the Fenrir, would not be blinded by the flashbangs. Then the Anarchic Gar hook through the hatch did not end up working out, as he just got shut down immediately. Diffuser was in his possession, and it was immediately lost by the attackers, who then had really no time to recover it or really do anything. Blast tried as he might, could not get it done, and KT finally take the lead in this matchup and are now switching over to the kitchen and dining, which tends to be a far less favored bomb site than kitchen and meeting. Maybe walk me through what maybe made the decision for KT here to go to dining instead of meeting.
Well, typically a lot of teams decide to go for a meeting because they have that extra layer around side. But, you know, Mu and the Reds, especially the way they play right now, they're struggling when it comes to fighting these gunfights, especially on short range. Meaning, trying to get them in towards side as quick as possible actually is not a bad thing. Contrary to what we've seen, for example, in the best of one before that, whereas you would have thought differently about it. This time around, like I said, the corner positions, the spot itself is played much more significantly aggressively from the side of KT, meaning they want to bring them to the fight on site. Obviously, we still need to put into consideration that especially if you're in control of small tower, which could be the case right now, or Mu and the Reds relatively soon, you have quite significant control towards side as well. But, and this is the but moment, this is the big but we have here in the strategy, they will be playing around small tower. Croxen with the opening frag onto Anakick, able to help out his teammate and get rid of the player outside of the big window area. And Eco finds a second one. Blast falls as well to Eco. Look at that. They're completely getting obliterated right here. Frostmat as well, but they will be able to deal with that. And now only 2 people up and living. Leader finds one onto Swaz. At least a tiny retaliation frag for himself and his team, but still 4 more to go.
Wow. Unbelievable job there from Eco to completely open this round wide open for his team. But I mean, I do want to say that round was pretty well done from Eco, just with that opening kill onto Anarchic. Taking down the hard breacher for this bomb site is ever so crucial. And then he just kept on going. Took down a couple more of them. And now 2v4, 90 seconds to go still for Mu and the Rats. And they really have limited utility, limited information still to try and attack onto these remaining 4 defenders. Shower is being held down by the defenders as well. Jung trying to create himself a little bit of an opening to try and maybe get inside of there without necessarily having to go through the hallway and the doorway. There goes a flashbang. Will get caught by the magnet, but will still go off and could potentially blind the player inside of Showers. Wow, beautiful shot there from Jung. The shield of the Blackbeard does protect him. There goes a beautiful swing, but unfortunately he misses, and it's Actor and Eco to clean it all up. The round once again going KT's way. Unbelievable round there. Eco pretty much won that single-handedly for his team, and KT extend their lead over Mu and the Rats, who, if we were just judging off that first round, would definitely not be seeing them in a 1-3 chase to try and find a couple more rounds in this half.
And this is exactly what I've been referring to when I said, why do they play dining and kitchen, not meeting and kitchen? They want to have them come and fight. They want to be able to abuse these. I mean, once again, especially with the shotguns, with the SMGs, you can beautiful play on defense right now. You want to have these close range combat fights instead of long range fights, which meeting typically allows for much more than, for example, if you play dining. But on the other side, right? If they were to approach site more directly and ignore their player in small tower, well, more things than whatever has happened right now could have been possible. But the problem right now is that KT has a very good understanding of how to deploy a strategy, how to deploy their players, and then have Mu and the Reds run into them and fall to them all together. And this is something Mu and the Reds, you know, they kind of seem like stumbling upon these things over and over again. Oh, I was about to say, Croxen don't come with these, once again, these ratty plays to bring them to the table. Could be something they want to be looking at relatively soon as well, but it is basement again, and they've won basement, so they should have a better understanding of what they were able to pull off successfully, though you also have to say that one time they also lost basement with a little bit of a too fast of an approach. Speaking about it, they are right now with the shotguns in hand, still getting ready for that push to come into the sort of elbow. Officer with the glass, trying to find anyone peeking into his own perspective, but for the time being, actually, he will not be able to be one with a frag. And as I say, that leader finds the frag himself, will fall in retaliation to Actor. as it is once again a 1v1 tie. And look at that, Croxen beautifully finding the head of Officer for himself. At the same time, they're coming down laundry stairs, finding this way on side. Not one, but two people fall to his own favor. Eco finds German retaliation. 2v2. It's a completely massacre. Kills are falling left, right, and center. And look at that. Only two people from each of these two teams are up and living. And they're still trying to get that setup done for themselves. Hatch just opened right now on the side of meeting. But 2v2 can still go either way.
It really could go either way, and especially considering how much time there is still left on the board. I mean, there's still well over a minute left, and that's more than enough time still for Blaz and Anarchic to do something here, especially considering the utility that they still have at play. Those flashbangs and those Ionic clones could be useful, but what's going to be more useful is having control of that diffuser. Anarchic trying to go for the diffuse, but he's not going to be doing that actually as he goes for the swing of the Swaz instead, and Blaz and Anarchic are able to clean this up, find the round win after a very, very chaotic start, and they find yet another one, are able to pull it back a little bit and make sure that KT aren't just completely running away with it. But my God, what a round that was.
Yeah, absolutely. And I mean, if we look back at it, right, it's still a defender-sided map, meaning we expect a 4-2 round swap. Moo and the Reds, they have already that minimum which we expect from an attack team to be scoring. Well, right now they are actually quite comfortable, to say the least, because, and I really want to go all out for this, if they win basement as an attacker once again, it would be a 3-3 round swap, which definitely favors Moo and the Reds highly. But obviously we're not there yet. The round swap has to be decided. But I just want to say, right, in the beginning, especially after they lost 3 rounds back to back, I was like, okay, Moo and the Reds, they really have to get back into their own game state. But actually, you know, them Jimmy Rustling, them really trying to make these adaptations, they are there right now. It's not that bad looking as you would imagine if you would compare it to other maps.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more with you there. And well, as we head on into the final round of this half, KT attempting to defend that basement yet again. Now I really wonder, with it being sort of a even split where KT won around on it and then Moo run around on it and then Moon run around on it again. I wonder which way it's really gonna go, and it's at this point tough to tell because of how evenly matched these teams so far have been, even though KT do have this slight edge so far of having that one round up on Moo and the Rats. But it looks like the push will be coming in from this barrel side instead of that typical freezer top floor push that we've seen from Moo and the Rats so far. A couple of grenades already coming out. Officer cannot find anything with it. Droning out as well. The drone gets shot out pretty early as he's still trying to put a little bit of pressure here from the blue barrel side.
Once again, it seems like they are trying to apply some pressure from the sort of freezer. Once again, it's the shotgun. They're rocking on the side of Moo and the Rats, which is quite interesting to me. But obviously, Anarchic knows exactly what he's doing. Even though Type 89 on Hibana, I'm still missing out on that, I would say. But like I said, you do you. Other than that, the setup itself, especially also these opening frags, did not fall as of right now, which is quite interesting to me because it actually favors KT a tiny bit more, as they haven't lost a single player yet. Obviously, they had to deploy quite a bit of utility themselves yet already, as we just saw the Toxic Pipe canister went out. Impact has to go on out in order to deal with that mirror window, but actually is not able to help out successfully, meaning this is a massive W already for the side of Moo and the Reds in order to apply pressure from the freezer section.
Yeah, it definitely will be, and there goes the opening frag as well as Echo finds one of the Blaz. Minutes still to go, and there goes even more kills coming in the favor of KT as Foss finds one onto Leader. Officer finally with a refrag denies the flawless round, and then some, as Joom is able to find one to Croxon as well. 50 seconds to go, there go the Habana Skyros to try and clear that mirror window. Tops into the corner is Smoke, and it will be finding a kill there onto Officer. Anarchic and Joom now all alone. I do believe that was the diffuser getting dropped as well. Actually, no, the diffuser got dropped a little bit earlier on the back stairs instead. So 30 seconds to go. A few of those will be getting spent trying to retrieve the diffuser. The Smoke babes getting deployed on the stairs as well, delaying them even more. The two attackers now disjointed and on completely opposite side of the map, trying to make a push for themselves. June trying to hold on inside of Freezer. Meanwhile, Anarchic is rotating down those main laundry stairs. June trying to challenge, but he can't do much. Anarchic finds himself in the bomb site with the shotgun in hand, is able to find one. Time so low. He has to go for the plant. He's sticking it. He will be able to stick it. What? He didn't stick it? What? I'm so confused what just happened. I guess he didn't stick it, but there was more time left. I don't know. I felt like there was less time left than what we saw, but nevertheless, though, Moon the Rats are able, or KT are able to win that round, as the diffuser does not indeed get stuck, as I had mispresumed, and now Moon the Rats onto the defenders, onto the defensive side, trying to make up this gap that KT have built here. A 4-2 split is more than they could ask for on a map like Oregon.
Certainly so. Still, I would like to highlight a very good try to say so. Obviously, like you said, it was a little bit of a mix and match here and there, especially with him trying to stick the diffuser plant, but actually then aborting that diffuser plant. Well, saving the KD is certainly something you could be looking at in a competitive environment. And yeah, like you said as well, 4-2 is a round swap, which definitely, of course, helps KT a lot. But we still have to say, KT now is on attack themselves. And once again, 4-2 is what we expect to be that presumable outcome on defense for yourself. Would bring us, and I am not going to say it, but I'm going to name it, would bring us to overtime. But obviously, it's just the beginning of that round swap. Nothing can be told right now. I would say so that Mu and the Reds certainly is a team which is looking more at face checks, looking more at the, you know, more aggressive gunfights. Not necessarily at all times in the last couple of rounds in their own favor, I have to say. But KT certainly is able to match that quite significantly, which makes it quite interesting and quite... I mean, I'm getting the taste of quite an aggressive way of them clearing the map. Look at Nug already in the map. Officer falling towards Crocs and Joom with that refrag. At least a 1v1 Officer in retaliation for Croxon. Once again, this aggression, these opening gunfights are happening left, right, and center. Blaz finds a frag on towards Eco. A slight advantage once again for Mu at the Rats.
Yeah, that was a very unfortunate gunfight there for Mr. Officer, but luckily his team was able to refrag him out, and then some, and a player hiding inside a classroom is able to find one, and then two. Unbelievable. What did we just see? Anarchic has made up for every single misstep that he's made so far with that beautiful play inside a classroom. Mott's now 1 versus 4, trying to make anything happen here would be a miracle. Missing a couple of those shots there. Onto Joom is able to find one at the leader, but Anarchic is still in classroom, and he finds the kill with the bailiff, which is just, that's just showing off at that point. But the round will go to Mu and the Rats, and they close the gap bit by bit, and now are just a step away from equalizing the scoreline. What a beautiful round from Anarchic. It reminds me a little bit of Eco back on, I think it was round 4 or 5, where they were defending dining and kitchen, and then Eco just sort of swung everybody on the small tower window and killed like 4 people. It reminds me a lot of that of that round. What Anarchic was just able to do, except somehow cooler. I don't know. Wow, beautiful job there from them. But also a little bit, you know, where were the drones, KT? Where were the drones? I feel like classroom is one of those things that you have to check because it's such a, you know, I guess maybe they thought like, oh, it's too on the nose. There's no way anybody's going to be playing in there. But, you know, you've got to drone that out. You've got to have those drones get in every nook and cranny, especially when you're playing against one of the Rats. I mean, the Rats is in the name. You have to expect these things.
Absolutely. I mean, the thing is, right, that it's kind of what I predicted when I said that we do expect both of these teams to go to more of that over aggressive play style, face check heavy instead of in-depth droning, slow approach. And especially these situations happen if you don't take your time and drone, and this is a valuable lesson each and every one of us can learn for rank. Well, Joom also made Croxon learn a lesson, but he also falls just afterwards. Eco with that retaliation frag for himself. And I have to say, these opening frags are getting more and more nasty, But at least, fortunately, for each of these two teams, retaliation is there immediately afterwards. Right now, we do barely see an opening frag converted into a major lead, which is good because it doesn't indicate all too much for the rest of the round.
Yeah, I definitely could not agree with you more. And once again, I mean, I feel like this seems to be the theme of the night of, like, you know, those opening frags and that man advantage getting gained within that first minute. And it's definitely rung true so far throughout this match as well. And I wonder how long that's going to keep up for. And I wonder when the next kill is going to come and who it is going to go in the favor of. There was a frag grenade trying to clear the player at the bottom of the freezer stairs. It will miss. Meaning that the player who was playing there, I'm not sure who it was, will stay alive for a little bit longer, but there goes Eco getting a little bit aggressive on that. Swazi, in the meantime, finds the kill onto Mr. Officer. And the pressure from the freezer side has been eliminated. Anarchic now trying to just hold on to this trophy. Bedroom side, of course, those Kiva barriers still in pocket and able to get utilized throughout this map as we reach the final 90 or so seconds of the round, and KT, although man advantage in their possession, not too much map control as of yet, at least not anything that is significant to their actual bomb site execute.
1 minute, give or take. Not that much time left anymore for the sort of KT in order to make anything work. Obviously, positioning is relatively good, especially if you look at Eco. They're relatively close on site. Just a couple of meters divide them from actually walking on site itself. But the setup is not there yet. And this is something I'm really afraid of. If they just walk on in, they could walk into the crossfire. They could walk into a bad position, even though Mats finds the frag onto Blast. Only 2 people up and living out a kick with 1. Eco finds retaliation onto just 1 more. Leader finds 1, finds a second one. Now shotgun in hand. He's able to clutch it all 3-0 for himself. Look at the man who's able to shine whenever needed.
Oh my god, what is that? What? We've seen so many near clutches tonight, but we have not seen a clutch like that. What did we actually just witness? I feel like we're not even comprehending how insane of a clutch that is. And I do wonder, okay, right now it is Wednesday. I wonder if on Monday, before the new patch had rolled out, if Leader would have been able to pull that off the same without the shotgun rework. Now, I know that he was pretty close. That last player was still pretty near to him, so the shotgun absolutely had that range even before the rework. But I still wonder, would that have been possible before, or is the shotgun rework just a little bit, you know, helped a little bit there? But still, regardless of you know, which, regardless of whether the rework helped there or not, what an unbelievable clutch still to pull off. That 1v3 flick from one end to the other. Beautiful, beautiful blade out there from Leader. I was going to say Moon the Rats, but it really was Leader just holding on to that with everything that he had in a round that he absolutely should not have won.
This is competitive experience at a peak level, showing right now on the faces of these players. Well, I can only give them credit for that. Honestly, right now, we do see a little bit of a different approach. As you said in the past, we do not see Moo and the Reds play dining, but we do see them play meeting instead. Officer with the opening frag onto Eco, and lose Eco early on definitely is already a bummer for the side of KT. And still, Officer is not cleared for the time being, meaning he can waste more time for the attack, can waste more players. And what's going on? Swaz finds Blast and a kick refrag onto Mats. At least Croxen finds a kick in return, and effectively that brings us to a tie 3v3 for that man count right now. Croxen right now trying to draw out Officer in a sort of small tower, but obviously this will be a relatively tough job for himself. Leader in the egg finds Actor, Joom finds Swaz, and it's only Croxen last man standing.
Yeah, 1 versus 3 here for him. Still trying to clear out Mr. Officer at the top, and he will not be able to do so. From the top of the railing, up at the top, he is able to find that final kill after already getting such a very early advantage for his team. Tries they might KT, were not able to hold on to it, and Moon the Rats after quite a few rounds here, finally retake the lead as we head off into round 10, which, if you know anything about Siege, competitive Siege, you will know that round 10, depending on which way it goes, could be indicating that we're going to be seeing all 12 rounds of regulation now, depending on which way it goes, of course. Because it could go, the way of Moo and the Rats, and then we only see 11, should they win it, of course, in regulation. But we also could be seeing KT take it back here. Of course, I would not be at all surprised if we see a complete tug of war where it's, back and forth, and maybe even the dreaded, won't mention it, something after potential round 12. I don't know what happens after that. This is my first time being being in Siege. But nevertheless, though, going downstairs now, Moo and the Rats are going to try and defend this basement site yet again. And I have no idea what to expect anymore at this point, just considering how crazy so many of these rounds have been so far.
Once again, highlighting the individual performance right here, right now. I just have to say, Leader on top of Joom, on top of Blaz, they're definitely pulling so much weight for the entirety of the team. But I cannot name individual performances enough, especially also on the sort of KT with Swaz coming in, Eco, Croxon. They're definitely showing what they have installed, even though we just have to say, winning 3 rounds back-to-back on defense. Croxon, potential there for him to be opening frag, and it will also be so. Joom finds 1, potential for more, but no, he will actually fall in favor of Hiko. And what I was referring to is, if you lose 2 rounds, typically you're supposed to win 1, at least, because otherwise, right now what we have is 3 rounds back-to-back, 1 for the side of Moo and the Reds. Since that round swap has happened, now they can go back to the primary bomb spots, which is basement, which is kids' dorms, which is exactly where they excelled already in the past. And with that starting ground of that tie in the beginning, but also Eco being quite low on HP, certainly a good starting point for Moo and the Reds.
Really a very, very good starting point, and already wasting so much time by virtue of really doing nothing. There's still a player playing upstairs inside of Attic, and it will be Blaz. It will find the kill, but it was actually Blaz and Officer playing together. Blaz was playing inside of meeting itself. He was able to find those 2 frags, but even if he wasn't, it was Officer there to clean up from the hatch, and there was just nothing for KT to do there. He lost another couple players. Eco still very low HP from the earlier engagement with Joom. He will lose his life as well. What a beautiful swing and kill there from Blaz. The T1 is definitely showing. And now it's all down to Mots. A 1 versus 4. An all too familiar sight in this matchup, but what a beautiful shot. I don't even know how we saw him there. Oh, never mind. He's actually a lot more obvious than it looked. But wow, what a beautiful shot there. What a beautiful job from Blaz. And Moo and the Rats not only extend their lead, but now put themselves on to match point. KT, you've said it. If you lose, if you win 2 rounds, if you lose 2 rounds, you're supposed to win 1. KT need to not just win 1, they need to win 2 if they want to keep this one alive and take it into potential overtime, which is definitely not going to be easy, but I also wouldn't put it past them. Upstairs they go again, and well, a round that absolutely should have been KT's went the way of Moo and the Rats off the back of a insane leader clutch, and hopefully for KT they're going to be able to not let that happen again, and they're going to be able to take this round and keep themselves in it for a little bit longer.
I mean, 4 rounds back-to-back on defense, once again, goes to show how beautiful Moo and the Reds is playing right now, not only individually, but also as a team. Even though I just have to say, Blaz, I mean, he still proved to us that he can count to 4, collecting 4 frags for himself, certainly, of course, pulling the most of the weight in that last round. But once again, I just want to highlight the shotguns coming into that game again. Honor Kick, as well as Leader, they're certainly bringing these shotguns time and time again for themselves, for the team. And so far, they were totally able to make them work. And yeah, right now, looking back at it, the amount of drones, still more than enough drones for KT. What they should be looking at is kind of like slowing everything down, not walking into anything, because we do see the amount of aggression from Moo and the Reds is on the maximum amount of level, peeking almost everything and everywhere, wherever they can, definitely not something you want to be walking in. Joom has been spotted, which is very good for the side of KT. They should be looking at getting a good understanding relatively early on in that round. But Mads could be looking at the first engagement there. No, it will be Swaz finding the opening frag onto Anakick. Not able to land any kill with that shotgun in his hand. He'll be out of the equation for the time being.
Yep, he'll be out of the equation. Officer nearly making himself a part of that equation as well, as he takes a lot of damage, but instead it'll be Joom to get taken out next. They droned him out. They were ready for it. There goes a beautiful kill, but immediately refragged. Leader could not hold on to that. Mott's was there to refrag his teammate, and now Officer on quite a deep flank. Can't do anything. Croxton is there to find the final kill. It's all down to Blaz. The hero of last round, can he do it again? 1 versus 4. They're flooding the bomb site. They have so many angles covered. He can't do anything. It's KT to find yet another round. They keep themselves in it for a little bit longer, and now it's just a round away from this being equalized yet again, from KT taking it to overtime, and from it being anybody's game in rounds 13 and 14.
My, oh my, things are potentially getting quite interesting relatively soon. Ladies and gents out there, well, overtime could be just around the corner. Moo and the Reds could be looking at closing this off relatively soon as well. Obviously, everything and anything is still possible. I could not predict anything right now. It's super close, it's super tough. But that round definitely helped KT break with the momentum, break with the flow Moo and the Reds had built for themselves, and also regain some momentum for themselves as well. But like I said, it does not stop there. They have to win one more round. Only then overtime will be granted to them. Only then they get a second chance in order to come out on top. For the time being, when the Reds is still sitting at a match point, meaning every time soon, whenever they win the next round here and there, or here, they are the ones to take that W for themselves. And looking at it, once again, the setup, it looks good what they have in store from both of the sides. I really like the adaptations we do see from the side of KT to bring in, well, we did see that in the last rounds, to bring in the Lion to stop the movement. We did see Mutz a couple of times already on the Nomad to block movement as well. I really like these adaptations, really necessary, because we do see more of the Reds move so heavily, and we just saw it again. Them running out, them spawn peeking, them moving around the map, moving is certainly the key for Moo and the Reds right now.
Yeah, 100%. Could not agree with you more. And while that movement might have just punished him a little bit, as Croxton is able to find the opening frag there onto Anarchic. Leader, however, immediately refragging that onto Swaz, taking down a very crucial player so far. Eco, in the meantime, getting spotted by that Prox alarm. Blaz in nearby to go for any potential frags, but it's actually Joom in the meantime that'll find one onto Actor. Leader asking who's droning ya, is just a little bit worried about the potential lack of information coming out from KT, as I'd assume that's how some of these kills had come about, but of course didn't get to see all of them, so it's hard to know. A grenade will come out, and unbelievably Eco manages to stay alive there despite the swing from Blaz. Here come the flashbangs. Blaz still completely unaffected by them. Goes for a beautiful swing, finds the kill. In the meantime, Croxton is able to find one at the Mr. Officer. Blaz still going with the shotgun, is able to find the kill, and Joom will clean it up. Moo and the Rats take the round, take the game. It's a 7-5 closeout from them, and they are able to take this one home, and they are able to win it all out right here, right now.
My, oh my, certainly a very solid performance, which we saw from all of the players from the side of Moo and the Reds. I really have to say, they gave us quite a show, to say the least. Individual performance at its best. The coach coming in to play together. Overall, we still have to say it, Heroic decided to not continue with Siege. It is amongst Blast's European League, obviously one of the last couple of times where we have the chance to see that roster in action. And I'm so grateful. I'm so happy that I was able to see that. Not only to see that, but also to see at what performance they can still deliver.
Yeah, I could not agree with you more. And, I will say, despite the performance that they've delivered and as great as they were, and I think everybody expected them to play as well as they did, I really have to give credit where credit is due for KT to be able to find 5 rounds here, which I did say that they're probably going to be able to do that. I said that they're probably going to be able to find at least 4 or 5 rounds, if not win it, or if not, at least take it to overtime. I really had faith in them to not, just get completely closed out, and they had some really, really, really good rounds. I keep thinking back to that leader clutch and thinking how different things would have been, because that really was a round that should have been all theirs, and then it was just the leader doing leader things and was able to win it out. But as I said, credit where credit is due. They played really, really good siege. It's just the fact that you're going up against Heroic. Essentially, you're going up against the T1 team. It's really not easy to do that, and I think to be even able to pull up 5 rounds against them definitely shows determination like we really you don't really see all that often. And I wonder how different this would look if we got to see them in a best of 3 setting. Of course, best of ones really don't give you the full picture, so it's like if we got to see them in a bigger setting and in more maps, I truly wonder how that would turn out, and I would really love to be able to see that. I think we're probably going to get to see it somewhere down the line throughout the league, maybe even in the playoffs, if not at any point sooner. But I do wonder what that would have looked like if we'd have been able to see that.
Well, I still want to put credit on the side of KT. They were almost able to pull it to overtime, winning 4 rounds on their defensive half, just falling short, unfortunately, too close of the end in order to pull this all the way to overtime. Phenomenal performance. Once again, Croxton, Swaz, I don't really want to diminish any of the players. They just all played super well together. Eco, of course, on top of that as well. I just have to say, I'm so proud of what they've reached. And yes, even they fell short against AKA Heroic, Moo at the Reds. Still, they pulled off a performance. They almost went all the way to overtime. A phenomenal team. If they keep working on themselves, I really think they have such a good chance in order to not only, towards the end of the league come out on top, but also potentially look at revenge here and there. Obviously, it's play day 1. The results of the matches don't really put credit to how actually the match played out itself. I just want to highlight it once again.
Yeah, I really could not agree with you more, and I couldn't have said it better myself. Congratulations to Moo and the Rats. Commiserations to KT. I'm sure that they're going to find success later throughout this league. There's still so many play days left. As you said, this is only play day 1. So there's still so many days left for them to prove themselves and for them to reach success. And I have no doubt that we'll be seeing more and more of them, that we're going to be seeing them absolutely dominate whoever they come up against. But I guess without rambling for any bit longer, as we've already talked for so long, and it has been a bit of a long night here with all of 3 of these matches going on. So we will close it out here and we'll send you all home. Thank you, everybody, for watching. Thank you, everybody, for sticking around, especially if you've watched all 3 matches. I hope that you've enjoyed them as much as we have. Thank you, everybody, for in production. I've been Retro. He has been Silver. And we'll see you next time. Bye-bye. Have a good night.
Bye-bye.